I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Monday night's NUFC Matters Fans Forum. And yes, it is a very, very sweet feeling on a Monday evening. Newcastle United, 4 in a row. Eddie's Mags, 9th in the table, loving life right now. It is just a great time to be a Newcastle United fan. And look, we're here to celebrate again. It seems like a celebration every week. Another victory and more points on the board. 43 points, more than safe now. It's just a formality, really. But Chris, the main man in the house tonight, a few seconds behind, so we'll have to bear with that because he's on the road tonight. But Chris, what are your thoughts, having had 48 hours to reflect on Newcastle United's fantastic win 3-0 against Norwich at Carrow Road?
It's just incredible, isn't it? I mean, I highlighted this one, Pete, as a potential banana skin, and it's funny because I felt pretty confident about the Palace game. And then I had my doubts about the Norwich game, and then when I saw the lineup, not that I doubted Eddie Howe, but obviously there was a couple of players missing, new players coming in, the likes of Lascelles, obviously Chris Wood was dropped, so there were a couple of changes that I thought, ooh, okay, this will be interesting, and obviously Fabian Schär's been absolutely outstanding in the centre of defence, so I thought he was going to be a big miss, but. Credit to the lads who came in. They really performed, and I thought it was just another outstanding performance from the lads. And more pleasingly, Pete, which I'm sure you'll agree with, winning is becoming a bit of a habit now, isn't it? And it's almost like we're coming into games now, and we're kind of thinking, how are we going to do today? But there's no, certainly from my point of view, there's no fear of us potentially losing or even getting a pasting off someone. I mean, obviously we've got a massive game coming up on Sunday, but I'm really, really looking forward to this game because I think this will kind of be. I said it the other day on Loaded. I feel like this will be the litmus test. I feel like this will be the one that really kind of shows us where we are as a team. We're going to have to make improvements in the summer. There's no doubt about that. But these players that Eddie Howe is now getting performances out of, it's just exciting, isn't it? And we're all looking forward to next season. But it's just nice, isn't it, knowing that for the last 6 games of the season we're not looking over our shoulders anymore. It's kind of how far up the league can we get? Can we keep 9th? I mean, if we keep holding 9th position, that what an outstanding achievement from Eddie Howe and these players. So it's all positive, as it has been for weeks, months. It's all positive, and I'm just loving the vibe that we're on at the minute.
And you're exactly right, Chris. It is a ride right now for Newcastle United. We are just riding the wave, and it seems like an absolute lifetime away. When we were struggling in the Premier League, losing games left, right, and centre. That horrible run of fixtures in December against the likes of Arsenal, Leicester, Man City. Liverpool. It seems like an absolute lifetime away where we're going, 4 games in a row, and looking for potentially the record-breaking win on Saturday at home to Liverpool, which will be, I think, it'll be an exciting game. Tired legs. Liverpool have got a game midweek. 12:30 kickoff, so they don't have as much time to recover. It's just kind of a perfect situation for Newcastle United to exploit. And the fact that you mentioned it, the fact that we rested players, so players are going to come back into the squad. Shaw, Shelvey, they're going to come back in so much more fresh and ready to play, having really kind of ran themselves into the ground in recent weeks. It's a great position to be in, and there's so many in the chat tonight already. Some fantastic questions. I've already starred 3 or 4 of them already, and many more. I haven't even got down the rest of the chat, but we'll get down it at some point. Some really good questions that we'll bring in with regards to that. But and I'm sure there'll be a little bit of Everton talk. I'm sure there'll be a little bit of Jamie Carragher talk. There's been some controversial comments and some interesting results over the last 24 hours, which I'm sure over the show we're going to get into. But look, the fans forum, it's here for the fans. And I've already just a second ago put it in the stream. It's already on there. It's on the screen. If you want to join the chat, there's the link. I know Jimmy's messaged myself and Chris on Twitter asking for it. So Jimmy, I'm sure will be on at some point. Come and join us, even if you want to talk for a couple of minutes and just have a say about Newcastle United, about 1 point. If you just want to raise something very small, that's absolutely fine. Come and join the chat. Get your screen on, and we'll get you on within the hour. That is for sure. But look, let's get to it, because I'm sure there'll be a few conversations in between chats, Chris, that we'll get into as the show goes on. But first and foremost, let's get the boys in, and there's a couple of boys waiting in the green room. A couple of our regulars, looking forward to hearing what they've got to say. But first in is Tony. How you doing, Tony?
Hi, Pete. Hi, Chris. You all right?
Evening, Tony.
Well, up the Premier League we go, I tell you.
Get in there.
It's brilliant. 9th place.
Unreal. First thing I'm going to ask you before you raise your points, Tony, is that do you think we can maintain it? Chris has already mentioned the point about we're 9th. Potentially we could stay there. Do you think we could maintain 9th place, or I'll reword it? Do you think we can maintain top 10?
I think we can, because you look at Wolves. Their away record's atrocious, isn't it? They lost to us, then they've lost to Burnley. And, I watched that Burnley game yesterday, and I'll tell you now, Burnley were no mugs. They were absolutely fantastic yesterday. They ran their hearts out, and they were absolutely knackered at the end of that game. But they fought for that cause. But Wolves, we can catch them. They're only 6 points ahead. And I'll tell you now, and Liverpool won't find it easy coming on Saturday to St James's Park, because we're a different animal now. We've won 6 home games in a row, and like Michael Dawson said on Saturday, that's in the Premier League, and he says not many teams do that in the Premier League, win 6 home games in a row, unless you're a great team. So, we could put a dent in their title hopes. Even if we got a point on Saturday, I would take that lovely. You know what I mean? But why not go for the win?
Tony, you made a really good point there with regards to the Liverpool game. And the one thing I've heard over the weekend, even after we won 3-0 quite comfortably against Norwich, yes, they're bottom of the league, but they're fighting for their lives. And the way in which we won the game, we won it at canter. It could have been 4, 5 or 6. We had chances that we missed on top of that. You think of the Dan Burn flick at the back post. You think about the Sean Longstaff in the first half. You think about the Jacob Murphy in the first half. You think about the Almiron chance towards the end. You think about St Maximin on the edge of the area. I'm talking 7 or 8 good chances there to score goals. We were good on Saturday, regardless of the opposition. We were good. But the one thing I'm going to ask you, and it refers back to the Liverpool point that you talked about, is that actually a lot of pundits are dismissing us when they're looking at the Man City Liverpool fixtures. A lot of pundits are dismissing Newcastle United away at St James's Park as a fixture that's not necessarily going to be difficult for Liverpool. Do you think that the pundits and the people in the media are underestimating Newcastle United, considering the form that we're in?
Well, I do, absolutely, because the thing is, we don't forget we beat a Leicester side. Yeah, I know there was a few players out, but still it was a decent Leicester team. We beat them 2-1, and the thing is, so we're playing a lot better under Eddie Howe now. And as I said before, we're a different animal altogether, a different team to what Liverpool saw in December. Yeah. And I'll tell you what will be an interesting battle on Saturday. will be Bruno versus Thiago. And I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Oh, yeah. To be fair, there's battles all over the pitch.
Yeah.
And look, I don't want to plug it in really early, but we've gotten a fantastic away day set up with one of the top Liverpool podcasts. So from a loaded point of view, tune in Thursday 7:30. You won't want to miss that, where we're talking all things Liverpool, Newcastle. But that is a very, very interesting battle. And you know what? You've not even thrown Joe Linton in there, who's had a fantastic game on Saturday.
I mean, going back to Saturday's result, when I saw we made 4 changes, I thought, oh, okay then, right, let's see how this goes. And yeah, okay, for the first 20, 25 minutes, Norwich played well. But once we scored, their heads seemed to drop. And they looked a totally different Norwich team to what played Man United. So, and we just rolled them over. And I mean, Timmy Crone made a nice assist for Bruno, didn't he?
Just a bit. I referred to him on the reaction show as Agent Cruel. He was definitely looking out for his black and white boys on Saturday, no doubt about it.
I mean, that was a good result on Saturday, but the result I'm more happy with, and I know some people may think, well, why? But I'll tell you in a minute why, is the Crystal Palace result. And the reason I like the Crystal Palace result more is because not only did Almiron score a terrific goal after a lovely ball from Bruno, but Palace only had 1 shot and goal in that first half, and that come the 44th minute from Edouard, and it wasn't even a shot really. Dubravka just had to go down and pick it up basically. But the second half, Palace come out in that second half and they went for it. And it was our defensive display in that second half which impressed me even more than the game against Norwich on Saturday. It was the way we sat tight, we stopped them, and we stopped them scoring, which was the main thing at the end of the day. Yeah. And like I say, that's what pleased me more about the Palace result, was the defensive unit that we had in place that day, how well we defended, because they had chances to score. I mean, Zaha nearly scored near the end and it went over the bar. But other than that, we stood firm and we stopped them. So well played for that one on the Wednesday. Because that Palace are no mugs and they've been great. They've been a good side all season under Vieira. Because don't forget, the start of the season, everybody had them earmarked for relegation candidates because said Vieira's now managing the Premier League. Well, I think he's proved a few people wrong now, hasn't he?
Just a bit. But I have to say, and Chris, I think you might remember this as well. I think when we spoke about the fixtures coming up last week, I'm pretty sure that Tony was the one that said that he felt we could win all 3 games. And and look at it now. Yeah. You hit the nail on the head, Tony. You were absolutely spot on. You thought we could win all 3 games. I think me and Chris even said to you as you left the show, fingers crossed. Next time we speak, we're looking at 3 wins. And
That's right. Yeah.
And look where we are. So, Mystic Tony, I think we need to be calling from now on, getting your predictions in early doors. But Chris, I know you had some problems. You just come back in, but look, we'll all rally around you. Everyone thought you were on your Avon deliveries. I said no,
no, not tonight.
Not on Monday night.
Not tonight.
Not happening. No. But yeah, he's back in. Obviously, Tony talked about the Palace result being maybe even a little bit more impressive because of the job that Vieira's done and how well Palace have played. Would you agree with that?
I think so. I mean, Palace aren't an easy side to play against. I mean, Pete, we've spoke about Palace in quite a lot of detail this season, actually, more so than ever, because I know obviously you're a big fan of Elise, and they've got Sahar, they've got Mateta, they've got Edouard, they've got Gallagher. Those are good players, and for us to go up against Palace and totally deserve the win, which we did. I know it was a tight game, but I still believe that we deserved it, and we put in a really professional performance. And again, what's key for me is the clean sheets. I mean, the clean sheets are coming thick and fast, and this is what's equally impressive. We're putting in good performances. We're getting performances out of players who weren't previously performing, and we're keeping clean sheets. And that again just alludes to the organisation and the professionalism that Eddie Howe has, struck since he's come into the club. And that's why I think everyone's really excited, because it's not as if, we're all over the place and we're winning 3-2 and stuff like that, which would be exciting. There's a very professional feel about the club and the way that we're moving forward. And we all know as fans, this is only going to improve as, that we get bigger, better players in the squad, because going forward, we're going to be even more of a threat. I think now, which we're not used to seeing probably since the Bobby Dobson days, or maybe Pardew days, if we're being generous. When we go forwards, we look a threat, but it's from all angles on the pitch. It's not just we're getting goals from central midfield, which we haven't seen for such a long time. We've got Bruno Guimarães chipping in, we've got Joe Willock chipping in, we've had Miggy Almiron, for God's sake, he's chipping in. Ryan Fraser, they're coming from all over the pitch, and this is great. Ironically, the one place where you would expect it to come from is Alan St-Maximin, and he's dried up a little bit, but you just wait until he hits a bit of form and he starts performing as well. We've all been saying, haven't we, before this Norwich game, that we were expecting a good 3-4-5-0 job, and we've yet to really, punish a team and win convincingly. But we saw that at the weekend, and it's great. And that Norwich game was not going to be an easy game. I know people will say, oh, they know they're down and whatever, but at home, it was up to the players to put in a good performance for the Norwich fans, and we dealt with that. And it wasn't working. Someone in the chat put, and it's a great comment, Eddie Howe switched things up. We were talking about it, weren't we, Pete, on the review show on Loaders, that, at the start, we didn't know what formation we were playing. We didn't know who was playing where, because players just kept moving around. And then all of a sudden, Eddie Howe switched it up. And straight away, we saw the impact of that. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
David Cook.
And it worked immediately. Absolutely spot on.
I mentioned it on the reaction show. I said it was that Joe Linton doesn't score the 2 goals without Eddie Howe making that tactical change. I think you alluded to it as well, Chris, before, and you talked about they were very interchangeable, that front 3 or 4, and then all of a sudden, but when they were set, Joe Linton was always the top guy. All of a sudden, Alan St-Maximin becomes the top guy, but he's not stuck in that position. You see him drop deep, you see him pop left, pop right. He then opens up that space where Grant Hanley, who's used to marking someone and being touch tight to someone, doesn't know what to do. He don't know where to stand. He's got no one up there. Joe Linton on the left. So Alan St-Maximin pulls players left, right, and centre, opens up the space. Joe Linton cuts in from the left-hand side, rasps in a goal in the top bag, and then he's in the right position on the left hand side to come in and tuck away the second. It didn't get enough, and I said it on the reaction show. It didn't get enough credit that it deserved, not from us fans, because actually there was a number of fans that came out, and David Cook's another one that noticed it. The media didn't. And you've got pundits that have played football that have, Tim Sherwood, I talked about it. Tim Sherwood was talking about it on Gillette Soccer Saturday. And I don't like watching Gillette Soccer Saturday, but I wanted to see their reaction. I want to see their reaction to how comfortable that game was. He didn't even pick up on it. That guy's managed Tottenham Hotspur and Aston Villa, and he didn't even pick up on it. And I'm just thinking, hold on a second. Like, he just doesn't get the credit he deserves as a tactical manager. And yeah, Chantel, you're absolutely right. We are looking forward to every game that Newcastle United play at the moment. And just to touch on your previous point, Chris, John Askew says here, is our losing mentality of 4 months ago is history been replaced by a winning one. And everything you talked about, Chris, just a second ago, and everything you've talked about, Tony, with your points about Newcastle United over the last week, even longer than that, is actually, it accumulates to that point that John Askew said, is that it's about the mentality. We haven't got a negative losing mentality anymore. We've got a winning one. And we've got a team that is looking on the front foot and actually looking good on the front foot, and it's so pleasing to see. And everything just ties in so nicely at the moment. But Tony, any more points before we let you go?
I mean, obviously where I work, today there's a couple of lads there who support Norwich, and one of the guys said he was behind the goal when Joe Linton scored, and he says, that was a fantastic finish. He says, you can't take that away from him. And I says, yeah, it was a fantastic finish. And he says, that Bruno looks some player as well. And I says, oh, he is, yeah. And but he was telling me apparently when obviously Norwich sacked their manager, they wanted Eddie Howe as well for manager. And that was it. They had a poll in Norwich and 90% of fans wanted Eddie Howe.
Yeah.
And they ended up with Dean Smith. And we got Eddie Howe instead.
what the Dean Smith that says that, you know, we've had loads of money to throw it in order to stay in the league, but yet
I'm owned by a country.
But owned by a country, but yet he had a net spend at Aston Villa of 200 million. I'm not talking he spent 200 million but made a load of money in selling. I'm talking about a net spend of 200 million, and yet couldn't get them any further than around mid-table with 200 million net spend. I just ignore comments like that. And there was another comment as well, just before you go, Tony, another comment from PDK, John Barnes. I think it might have been in the Chronicle, and this is where sometimes the Chronicle frustrate me because they continue to interview people like John Barnes who just want to make a negative or a reactionary statement. Bruno isn't a star for Newcastle United. It's a load of rubbish. Bruno's a star for the Premier League, not just Newcastle United. And he's got everybody talking about how good he is. How John Barnes could say that as a talented footballer as he was back in his day, to not recognise that Bruno Guimarães is a supremely gifted footballer. Maybe in a different way to John Barnes, because John Barnes did say that he preferred it or thought that an Alan St-Maximin was more of a star because he's fast on the board, he's trickery, whatever. And maybe Alan St-Maximin reminds himself of a young John Barnes, and that's okay. But not to recognise Bruno as a star, I thought that was an absolute joke. Chris, Tony, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to be honest. I haven't seen that. So, you know, you're giving me a bit of context there, Pete, is helpful. But yeah, it's such an unusual statement to make, isn't it? Because let's be honest, anybody who I won't say knows football, because John Barnes knows football, but anybody who watches Newcastle United or has done over the past 4 to 5 weeks will know that Bruno Guimarães is a star, and he's a star waiting to flourish even more than what he has done so far. And a big reason as to why we've gone on this run, and a big reason as to why, you know, we're 9th in the table, is down to Bruno Guimarães. I know, you know, he was eased in when he first joined the club, and he didn't burst on the scene straight away, which I think ironically has worked out well for us. I mean, you know, the likes of Joe Linton, Shelvey and Willock in the centre of the park, they kept Bruno Guimarães out the team because they were undroppable. And then Bruno got his opportunity, and then I think once we saw Bruno come in, everybody was kind of like, this lad's got to play. He's got to play. And since he has started playing regularly, you know, you can't drop Bruno Guimarães. I mean, he's one of the first names on the team sheet now, and this is without Pete as well, and Tony. This is without, you know, extra class in and around him. You know, the likes of Kevin Trippier is going to love playing with Bruno Guimarães. Callum Wilson's going to thrive off playing with Bruno Guimarães. Things are only going to get better, aren't they? And especially, and I know we're going to talk about this later, no doubt, but especially if his good friend Paqueta ends up coming in the summer, that's only going to make Bruno go even bigger and better, isn't it?
Definitely. Tony, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, again, like Chris, I've not seen the article in the Chronicle either, but I'll have to everybody. I mean, Bruno's been an absolute breath of fresh air, and you can see the level he's at. And, you know, and if, you know, he could walk into any team, basically. He could walk into a Man City. He could walk into a Madrid or anywhere, you know, worldwide or even in the Premier League. So, you know, I mean, there's a lot more to come from Bruno. And Eddie Howe did the right thing, bedding him in before he started him properly. I know some fans were a bit frustrated, like, oh, we're not seeing him, we're only seeing him 10 minutes here or 15 minutes there. But that's Eddie Howe's man management, and maybe doing that has helped Bruno ease himself in and flourish as time goes on, and to be the player he is now. Now he's undroppable. And I too would like to see Paqueta come in the summer, because I think that'll be a hell of a midfield. An
Yeah.
absolute hell of a midfield. And like you say, not just Callum Wilson thriving off him. If we got somebody in, say, the ilk of Darwin Núñez, can you imagine the goals we'll score next season?
Ridiculous.
It's frightening to think where we could actually finish next season. But it's great to feel positive that way as well. And another thing I just want to say, obviously, Chris, because obviously you are obviously from Liverpool and you obviously have a lot of friends who are Everton fans, and obviously your wife supports Everton as well. They're going down, Chris. Burnley are 2 points ahead now, and Burnley travelled to Watford on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So if Burnley beat Watford and Everton can't beat Chelsea, they're 5 points adrift.
Yeah.
And that's going to be hard to claw back. And then they've got to go to Leicester as well, Everton. I know Burnley's got to go to Tottenham, but they've played Tottenham once and beat them. What say Burnley don't go down to Tottenham and get a draw? And then last game of the season, Everton's got to go to Arsenal, and Arsenal's fighting for Champions League.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really interesting point, Tony. And you know what? As you probably expect, I've discussed this with a lot of people, my wife, my mates, and everything like that. And it's a really interesting one. And a few weeks ago, I was nearly convinced that Everton, we're in big trouble and we're going to go down. And then I don't know what it's been over the last couple of weeks. I think obviously the win against us massively helped them. The win against Man United massively helped them. But I still feel, and I could be wrong, but I still feel like it's in Everton's hands. And I said this to my mate after the derby. I said to him, it's still in your hands, because I think they've got a run. Everton have got a run of 3 games that are very winnable. So obviously they've got they've got Chelsea at home next, then they've got Leicester away. And I'm sure the next 3 games, I can't think of them off the top of my head. But
they've got Palace and Brentford to come, but Brentford are playing well with Ericsson at the minute.
Yeah, they are. I mean,
and Palace again as well.
This is the thing now, isn't it, Tony, about the Premier League? All fixtures are tough. You don't look at it like even the Norwich game at the weekends. Me personally, and I'm sure other fans will agree, I was looking at that game thinking this could be a banana skin. This isn't just, back in the day, 5, 10, 15 years ago, you used to look at games and go, win, 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 win.
Yeah.
Now it's not like that. And you pick up points where you least suspect them. And don't get me wrong, it's not looking good for Everton. And, I'm still on the fence whether I want them to go down or not, because part of me does, based on a select few fans who, feel, well, it comes across that they have this right to be in the Premier League and that they hate Newcastle fans. So that really irritates me. But then on the other hand, I do think of some of my family members and my mates, because having experienced relegation twice myself, it's really, really not nice. So I do have sympathy with them. But I've got to admit, part of me would kind of be thinking inside, well, you laughed at us. Well, what was the song we were singing against Norwich?
You laughed at us when we went down. Who is laughing now? I love it. I love that song.
Yeah, because also the thing is as well with the with Everton, if they go down, no disrespect to them, but it might actually benefit them going down, because then they can have a clear out, a reset, and they'll come back up, because that championship isn't easy to get out of. No. So
and the scary thing is, Tony. Oh, sorry, Pete. I was going to say the scary thing is about the championship, as we all know. What's scary about it is if you don't bounce back first time. Now, obviously, we were lucky. Under Chris Hughton, we bounced back. Under Rafa Benitez, we bounced back for 2 completely different reasons, by the way. The Chris Hughton era, as we all know, we had a fantastic squad, which actually managed to keep together and put the money towards. And under Rafa, we had a fantastic manager who kind of knew what he was doing. And to be fair, Ashley backed him. But with Everton, you say that, they can have a clear out, which is absolutely right. But the trouble they've got is as well, they're in massive debt. And players nowadays just don't come cheap. Even bog standard championship players in some cases are getting touted for between 8 and 12 million. And the bog standard championship players, Everton could end up knocking on our door. I reckon we could give them a good number of decent championship players that we've got on our squad. because they're going to have to go on the bargain basement. They're going to have to.
Yeah.
Do you think
I saw an interesting stat today, and when Everton sacked Benitez, they were 8 points ahead of Burnley. Under Lampard, they're now 2 points behind Burnley.
I'll tell you what, it's interesting as well, Tony. If you think about it, the new manager who's come in, I forget his surname, it's Michael
Jackson.
Michael Jackson.
Yeah, not the singer, but not bad.
Not the not the singer, but when you think in the last three games, he's picked up 7 points, which is it's bloody good going. It's really, really good. And am I right in thinking as well? They were going to pick up 9 points, but didn't they concede the last minute equaliser in one of the games?
That was West Ham, but they should have won it because Corney missed a penalty.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So they could have been an extra 2 points ahead of Everton right now. They've literally conceded a last minute penalty. Or was it a last minute goal? Sorry, they missed a penalty, didn't they? Last minute goal, and that's cost them 2 points effectively. So he's come in and he's made a big impression. And I tell you what, the owner's got a lot of stick for getting rid of Sean Dyche, but up to now, it's starting to look like a bit of a move, isn't it? Starting to look like a decent move.
And the thing is, I suppose you'd have to keep him as a caretaker manager, because if you say, I'll get a new manager in now, that could totally disrupt the team, where if he's just getting the results, keep the guy there, like we did with Houghton. Well, in that championship season, if I remember, in 2009, it wasn't until 3 months into that season, Houghton got a new contract off Mike Ashley, because he was still down as first team coach and not manager.
The owners of Burnley will think it's the easiest thing to do is by keep him on, because they'll want to keep as much money as possible. Because the thing with Burnley is that they're actually so much in debt, even though they've got no owners, because how much money has been leveraged against the club. And Mitch and Steve talk about it on the Three Amigos about that situation with Burnley. Talked about it for months now, and because of that, even if they do stay up, they're still going to be cash strapped. They'll still be in a similar position to where they are right now next season, because their inability to be able to build, because they haven't got the money to do so. It's as simple as that. But it's going to be a really interesting situation, and lots of moving parts over the next few weeks. But we'll leave it there at that point. Yeah. Tony, absolute pleasure to have you on. Great points as always. Great talking points. And look, we'll look to see you next Monday, where hopefully we've had a massive impact on the title race.
Well, I hope so. Yeah, like I say, I'll quite happily take a point now. But if we sneak a win, I'll take a win as well. But the main thing is, if we don't get beat, then that's a good one, because that's a nail in their coffin for the title race. But then we've got to go to City the week after, and we could dent their title race as well. So we've got a big say in it, haven't we?
We definitely have, mate. And it's going to be interesting watching it, knowing that we're safe as houses.
The pressure's off.
Pressure's off. We can go and enjoy it. So I'm really looking forward to that, mate. But you take care in the meantime, Tony, and we'll speak to you soon, mate. See you later.
Thanks, lad. See you later,
care, Tony. Ta-da,
take care.
Great to have Tony on. Great points as always, and the situation with Everton is going to be very, very interesting. And they're in a position where the one thing I was going to say to you, Chris, is that, and you made a really good point about the signings, because you talked about the bog standard signings for Everton, are going to cost quite a bit of money. You think when we went down the last time and Rafa Benitez went out and paid, what was it, 10 million for Dwight Gale, 12 million for Matt Ritchie, you think that caliber of player, how much that would cost now in the world market? The world market was very different back then, and was just on the verge of changing. Like, how much would those type of level players for the championship cost now? Like, it'd be, you'd want them to be already in your squad, so you didn't have to go out and kind of buy them. But there'll be a lot of players at Everton that won't want to stay at that club. A lot of them that won't want to play championship football. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, just thinking off the top of my head, Pete. I mean, Calvert-Lewin's not going to want to stay. Richarlison's not going to want to stay. No. Pickford will probably move on, because he's got obviously a bit of resale value. I personally,
going to the World Cup pretty much, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah. It's absolutely
So
right.
they're going to have to.
Yeah. I'd personally be very interested in Ben Godfrey. Nathan Patterson, who signed from Rangers in January. Is he going to want to play in the Championship? I'm not so sure. Depends. I mean, I still think that's a really, really odd thing, that he's came in for £16 million in January and he's not even been given a run out. I find that really, really strange. I think he's injured at the moment, to be fair, but you'd think he'd get thrown straight in. When you're paying that kind of money, you throw those kind of players straight in. But the likes of Allen, he will definitely go. Decore will go. Damari Gray will probably go. And then the trouble is that there'll be players there that they want rid of who are on really, really good wages and they won't go. And this is the problem. They'll be stuck with them and they'll be paying big wages like the likes of Iwobi. And the trouble with Everton, Pete, is I could be wrong here when I say this and I don't have any prior knowledge of it, but the big problem is I would highly doubt that a lot of those players will have relegation clauses in their contract, because I don't think Everton ever thought they were going to be near the relegation zone. And I don't think, obviously they've never been relegated, have they? So I can't see relegation clauses in their contracts. And let's not forget the big one, by the way, the one I've missed off, Dele Alli. And they're still going to have to carry on paying that 40 million to Tottenham. And even if they decide to cut the losses on Dele Alli, I don't know how much they paid up front, but let's say they've paid 8 million up front, and they've got to pay another 32 million over the next 4 seasons. That's just quick, 32 million over the next 4 seasons, whatever it is. Who's going to pay 32 million for Dele Alli, based on what we've seen?
Would anybody be paying more than 15 for him? Is he worth more than 12 right now?
Yeah, this is the problem. And they're stuck with that money now. They're stuck with it. There's no way out. And if they don't move him on, he's gonna be on at least 120 grand a week. It's got to be.
Yeah,
it's got to be.
He wouldn't have moved He wouldn't have moved from Tottenham unless he was getting paid more than what he's at Tottenham.
Good money,
in my opinion. That's just my opinion. I think he would have asked for more money, and he knew that Lampard wanted him as his marquee signing as a new manager. He knew that Everton were desperate. He knew that had to be the case, that they had to go out and pay that money to get him in, because they were desperate to bring in new signings in order to make sure that they stayed in the league. And they did the same with Van der Beek. Van der Beek has been probably one of the most disgraceful signings that Everton have made, and they've only paid a couple of million of a loan fee for him, but he's been dreadful, with all the potential that he has. It's an absolute shocker of a situation. And you've talked about players that are going to have to go, either for their own future purposes because of their aspirations of going to Qatar, but also wages. You've just talked about half of their team. You've literally talked about half of their team. They probably won't want to get rid of Ben Godfrey, but Ben Godfrey is probably one of their most marketable assets that they're actually going to get money from.
Yes,
and that's the thing. And he won't be on a lot of money. Like Yerry Mina won't want to have gone from Barcelona to the Championship.
Oh God, he'll go. Definitely.
He ain't going to want to stay in the Championship. And I don't think they'll be able to afford him, because I think he came on big wages as well. The only people that are likely to stay is Anthony Gordon. I think he'll stay because he's a young lad. He'd come through the team. There's people like Seamus Coleman that he's done in the Premier League at Premier League level. He's finished, but he'll stay because they're going to need him. It's going to be Fabian Delph on huge money from Man City. He ain't going to want to go. They had to practically kick him out the door to get him out of Man City because he refused to leave, because he was too busy, happy to sit on his money.
He will definitely look to stay in the Championship with Everton, because which other Premier League club's going to take a chance on him? It's not going to happen, is it? It's not going to happen.
The guy's finished at Premier League level. He reminds me a little bit of like a Colback type player.
Yeah.
He was finished as a Premier League player, but yet just hung on for that extra year, sitting in outside the 25-man squad. Like Delph will be that type of player. They're in a mess. And then how are Everton going to replace all of those players that are going to have to leave? Yeah, they'll get money back from them, but they're skint as it is. They can't reinvest all of that money because they need that money, because they're going to have to bank some of that money because they're not getting Premier League money. So they're going to need to. It's a difficult situation for them, really difficult, but an intriguing one at the same time. Lots and lots of points.
We've got a question here, Pete, and I'm going to throw it up. It's from John Justice Allen. Well, some people may find it a tough question. Me personally, I don't, but who knows? But I'll let you take it away, Pete.
Yes, a question to win tickets for the ladies' game on Sunday. Who scored a Champions League hat-trick for NUFC? I'm sure the questions will flood in, or maybe already flooding in. But look, we've got an opportunity to win some tickets for the ladies' game on Sunday. Let's give the ladies a massive back-in. I think the record is around 26,000 for a women's game. Let's see, Newcastle United fans, if we can break that. We've got a 52,000 seat stadium. We're probably not going to get a full capacity, but let's see if we can get 27,000. Let's see if we can break that. Luke Bailey's not messing around, not playing any games. Rachel Lilly is putting those questions in as well. John Justice Allen, if you're in the chat, who came up with the answer first?
I better look, because John's probably already said who's won, and we've just not got down to it yet. So I'll have a quick nose now. But Pete, before we can move on to our next guest, and while I'm looking for this comment from John, just to see if John has replied, he might not have, to be fair.
Yeah.
But in terms of looking at the game on Sunday, and I'm sorry if I'm jumping the gun a bit here, but we had a fantastic comment from one of the chatters before, and it was around the team selection. And I can't remember who asked the question, but somebody said, I think it was Yano actually. I think he said, will Eddie Howe do what he never does and change a winning team against, for the match against Liverpool on Sunday? And that was always going to be the problem, wasn't it? Where he rests or rotates a few players, because now I always feel sorry for managers in this position, because if he plays exactly the same team and we win, he's a legend. There it is. Yeah, there you go. If he keeps the same team and we win, he's a miracle worker. If he keeps the same team and we lose, then everyone will go, I should have played him. Or if he ends up changing the team and we lose, people say, you should have just kept the same team. He's kind of in a no-win situation, isn't he? But given the fact that we're playing potentially one of, if not the best team in Europe, you would think that you're going to put out your strongest 11, surely.
For me, it's a no-brainer. We have to go with the strongest team. I think the players that he gave rest to, and that's not necessarily the players that didn't start. It was the players also that came off a little bit earlier. He's given those players rest is because he wants those players 100% fit and firing, ready for the Liverpool game. And look, it's very, very clear Jamal Lascelles is not playing against Liverpool unless there's an injury between now and Saturday. It's very, very clear that the likes of Sean Longstaff is not going to start against Liverpool unless there's an injury. The same with Jacob Murphy. Miggy Almiron will come back in. Fabian Shaw will come back in. John Joe Shelby will come back in. Like, those players that have given so much in recent weeks, maybe Miggy a little bit less, but he runs his socks off. He covers great distances in the time that he's on the pitch. But I think Eddie Howe will break his rule. He will make changes. He will go with his strongest team, and he will go, if you want to beat us, Liverpool, at our place, at our house, you're going to have to earn it. And the key will be, and we'll talk about this on Thursday, Chris, with John, when he comes on the away days, is that, how are Liverpool going to be feeling after a difficult Champions League game? Might well not be that difficult for them. Who knows? I imagine the semi-final will always be difficult, but, are there going to be injuries? Are there going to be players that are not quite 100%? Some of those players have played 90 minutes for week on week on week on week on week, and they're in a position now where they're starting to become tired. Mohamed Salah, although he created a great assist, didn't look at the races on Sunday. He looked a little bit jaded. He looked tired. There's a few other players that look the same. Is he going to make wholesale changes in order to bring in a little bit of freshness in the team. Is a Milner going to play? Is he going to shake up the team and bring in a different fullback? Is Matip going to get a rest and or maybe Van Dijk a rest? I don't know, but it's going to be really, really interesting to see. But we're going to be fit and firing. We've got 52,000 that are going to be on fire. We've got wall flags that are going to be on point as always, and we're going to be a handful. We're going to be a handful for Liverpool. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, you mentioned them before, Pete. One player who I want to see play against Liverpool is Miguel Almiron, because you need that work rate, you need that press, you need someone who's just going to constantly, harry players. You need 110%, and arguably, I'm not suggesting this is right, but if he wasn't to play Saint-Maximin, I could half understand it. Not because of the talent and the fact that he can unlock doors. That's not what I'm saying. And to be fair, his work rate has improved tenfold recently. But we need a proper performance from Saint-Maximin at St. James's. And who knows, hopefully he pops. We keep talking about, I do anyway, keep talking about Saint-Maximin popping, and we're overdue a pop. We're waiting for it. And maybe on the big stage, maybe that's when we'll see it. But for me, Miguel Almiron, to go back to my original point, Miguel Almiron's a must start against Liverpool.
You're right. You want we're playing on that right hand side. You want him pegging back Robertson. You want Robertson not think about what he can do going forward. He needs to be thinking and have half in his mind that he's fast and he can counter attack very, very quickly. Yeah. I might not be able to keep pace with him if I lose the ball or the ball breaks high up the pitch. So in that, he's already got a doubt in his mind, and that's what you want. You want a player that's going to create that doubt in the back of Robertson's mind. For me, Maximin has to start. ASM has to start, and the reason being is because I actually think he's got the beating of Trent.
Yeah, Trent can't defend. And do you know what? As soon as I said that, I was thinking Trent's going to struggle against Maxi. Yeah. If Maxi's on it, he's going to struggle.
Maxi just needs to run at him. And and what you'll find is more so than any other time, because what they do, they tend to leave their fullbacks to go one-on-one with the attacking winger. They're usually quite comfortable with that. What you'll find is Keita or Jordan Henderson or whoever it is, Thiago. What you'll find is that they'll start doubling up on Saturday. You'll find that they'll have to overcommit either to the left or the right to stop our wingers from getting forward. In particular, Alan Saint-Maximin. And if there's ever a game for Alan Saint-Maximin to go down his left-hand side time and time again, that's what he needs to do. This is not the game to cut inside. He cannot cut inside. He'll get blocked out. If he goes down his left-hand side, he commits Trent time and time again. And it wouldn't surprise me if we win a penalty or we win a dangerous set piece in which we score from Trent committing a foul on ASM. I honestly, I think this is a game that's made for Alan Saint-Maximin if he makes the right decisions. He made the right decisions on Saturday against Norwich. He needs to be making the right decisions there, because I think he's got the beating of him. I really do.
Just as well, just very briefly, Pete, when you popped off screen before, myself and Tony were talking about the Everton fixtures. Big thanks to Tom for throwing them on there. And I was saying, you probably listened to what I said, but I was saying, obviously Everton have got Everton fixtures there. Oh yeah, right, yeah. Everton have got Chelsea at home, and then they've got Leicester away, and those two games are looking really, really difficult for to see them picking up any points. But they've got that run of 3 games. They were the 3 games I was talking about earlier. You've got Watford away, Brentford at home, and Palace at home. And this is what I was saying to me mates. I was saying it's in your hands. I mean, if they don't pick up the points from them 3 games, they've only got themselves to blame, because they've got to be looking at those 3 games and thinking we can get something here. Now, obviously, if Burnley win at the weekend and Everton don't win at home to Chelsea, which we probably expect, Burnley pull up 5 points clear, but they can still do it with those 3 games, because I think Burnley then go into a difficult period where they've got a few games that don't look very winnable. So there's still opportunities there for Everton, but I know you personally think you think they're down, don't you, Peter? But
yeah, I just think and to be fair, Tony made a good point as well. Is that it could be out of sight for Everton are actually in a game that they can actually win. I don't think they win. I don't think they win against Chelsea at home. I think Chelsea win that game. I don't think they win at Leicester.
No,
I think Leicester win that game. Personally,
they were lucky to get a point at home to Leicester because my youngest lad went to the game and my stepbrother, and I dropped them off at the game and picked them up from Goodison. And when they both got in the car, I didn't watch the game because we were on at exactly the same time. And when I got in the car, both of them said we got absolutely turned over that game. We were so lucky to get a point. Now Leicester at home at the King Power. We saw what Leicester can do at the King Power. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
And Everton just concede chance after chance after chance.
Especially away from home, Pete. Especially.
And they haven't won. They haven't won at home since August. Away, sorry. They haven't won away from home since August. Right at the beginning of the season, it's embarrassing. That Watford game's the key, and I think they have to win that game. I think if they lose the next two, and then they don't win, and I mean if they get a point, even if they get a point at Watford, I think they're 100% down, because I don't think they win. I don't think they win at home to Brentford. I think Brentford are technically too good for Everton, and it looks on paper Brentford at home. Oh yeah, winnable game. Brentford are playing well. They went to Stamford Bridge and won comfortably. They are playing very well. They probably should have won the game against Spurs at the weekend at home. And then they've got Palace, and Palace are very hit and miss. Palace, we outplayed Palace, and we made it the win very comfortable defensively. We had a strong defensive unit, but Everton haven't, and that's where they could fall flat. That for all of Palace's disappointing performances here and there and dropping points, they've beat Man City, they've beat Arsenal recently. They've gone on decent runs and won games, and they've got good players. I think that's not a given as well. And I think Arsenal will be fighting for top four until the last game of the season. So Arsenal are going to be all guns blazing for that one. If you look at it, there are not many games that are cut and dry for Everton. And Everton need the points. Everton are going to need to come out and attack these teams. But there are some of these teams that you're playing against. Brentford, for example. You come in and attack Brentford will hit you on the counter. They do that very well. Of course, they've got, Ivan Toney, they've got Christian Eriksen, they've got Norgard, who's a fantastic player. Moambo, who's a good striker. I don't know if I pronounced his name right, but got good attacking players. Leicester, you know what Leicester are back. Vardy's back fit now. That's another dimension. Wesley Fofana's back fit now. You got, Chelsea's a non-goer. It's that Watford game. If they don't win that Watford game, Watford have been pelted at home recently by so many teams. If they don't win that, they don't deserve to stay in the Premier League.
That's right. It's right. And the trouble is as well, Pete, as you rightly said there, Pete, Everton away from home are horrendous. But the problem they've got at Goodison as well is because there's so much nervousness. It reminds us of the Bruce days, where we all felt very pessimistic. As soon as you go 1-0 down, the crowd turn on you. And that you don't want that as a player. And I do believe, the atmosphere at Everton can be really toxic. A bit like it was, with ourselves when we weren't performing and everyone wanted Bruce out and we were unhappy with Ashley, and you can go on. And sometimes playing at home makes that worse. I know Everton feel like, the away form's horrendous, which it absolutely is, but you kind of need to rely on your home form. But Everton sometimes, when you've got all the home fans there and you can feel the nervousness, you can feel the anxiety. And away fans and the away team pick up on that, and they just thrive on it and think, you know what, we've got nothing to lose here. Why not? Let's just go for it. And that's exactly what Brentford will be thinking, and it's exactly what Palace will be thinking. And Chelsea will turn up and expect to win anyway.
Definitely. I think you made some really good points there. But the one thing that won't happen, is this silly comment here that Colin Wilson saw today about Pickford signing for Newcastle United if we get relegated. There is no chance. And you know what? I'm going to take it off the screen because I think that comment shouldn't even be on there as a possibility. But Colin, it is a silly tweet. It's not going to happen. There's no way he's coming to Newcastle United. That is for sure. I don't think the fans would want it. And I think the owners would. They're more intelligent than that than considering him as a viable option for Newcastle United. That is for sure.
It's not good enough, Pete. It's not good enough.
He's not.
Yeah, I don't think he's good enough for Everton. He's not.
I agree. But we're going to get there. We've got a couple of guests waiting in the green room. We're going to get the next guest on. I know he's been waiting patiently since the beginning. Welcome in, Darren. How you doing, Darren?
Hello, boys. You all right?
Not too
Good,
bad.
mate.
How are you?
Not too bad. I'm very happy about the weekend results. I think Eddie got his tactics, like Chris said. I think he's changed the team. If we lost, people would have said, why has he changed his team? What, to keep the winning team? But I think he had to change it because we're pretty much safe. And he's got to try players like Lascelles. I think he's felt sorry for Lascelles. He hasn't played since Cambridge. He has been, and he's given a start. He didn't do great, but he done all right at the back. And with Joe Litton up front, I think that threw Norwich. Norwich was expecting an easy game with Chris Woods. Changed the forward line, and it worked. And it's 2 goals. Couldn't complain.
Happy days. I mean, look, lots of people are talking about ninth spot. Obviously, top 10. Eddie's top 10 mags is what some people are referring to it as. What do you think? Do you think we can sustain that? Do you think we might drop just below the top 10 with obviously the tough fixtures we've got with Liverpool, Man City and Arsenal the next 3? Well, what are your thoughts about that, Darren?
Being realistic, everybody say like Liverpool on paper they should beat us, but if we've got nothing to lose, we've got can give them a game, can play our best, draw, possibly get 1-0, but I thought. It's not undoable. We can do it. We're going to give them a game. We've got to lose. Give competition.
Yes. No, I think that's a fair point. Is that look? Let's see how high the table we can go. And look, we're ninth in the table now. And I'll ask this to both of you lads: is that we're ninth in the table now? Would ninth place be a bad finish for Newcastle United next season, thinking about what we've done this season, what we could potentially be signing? Is ninth a bad season for us, or would you guys be expecting better?
I would say yes. It's a good ninth next season. Good place to finish, because yes, in the summer we're all going to be spending money, but we will be getting players out, players in. I don't want to become mental over the summer buying players. We need like players like Bruno at his level to come in, but you want the right players to come in who will work hard, who will fight for the club. But like who's going to do the job? So there's no point going crackers and bang and buy like a £75 million players people we're being linked with. Be sensible about what we've done in January. Go and get players who wants to work for the club, who wants to wear the shirt of pride, like Bruno's doing. He's loving it up here. And he wants sense to ninth. If we finish anywhere in the top 8 or 9th next season, I'll be happy with that, me personally.
Yeah. Chris, would you be happy with ninth next season? I know it's something we've discussed before. Top man John asked you on for that comment on there. But would you be happy with ninth? Would that be a disappointment for you? What are your thoughts, on that?
Do you know what? It's a fantastic question, Pete. And you know what? When you asked it, I was smirking to myself because I was thinking, I don't want to sound ungrateful, and I don't want to sound like I'm getting ahead of myself. I mean, like if you'd asked me this in December, I'd have gone, yeah. If we're still in the Premier League, that's great. I suppose our ambitions have kind of rose over the last few months, and do you know what? It still shows progression, doesn't it? Because I'll be honest, I don't think we're going to finish ninth this season. I don't see it. I think I said on the last show, I believe we'll finish anywhere between 12th and 13th, and I do think that's probably where we'll end up because we do have some tough games coming up. Obviously, I want to be proved wrong, but I do genuinely think that's where we finish. And if that's the case, then I think ninth will be a good spot because let's be honest, you can't ask for things too much too soon, and it will obviously depend as well on the transfer window because if we go and spend 150 million and we bring in 3, 4, 5, 6 top players, I think if you said to most people at the start of the season, would you be happy with ninth? I think most people would say no, because we're all just excited. We're all on this exciting journey, but realistically speaking, it would be nice to finish 9th, and even with what 4, 5, 6 games to go, be in with a shout of Europe. So the position we're in now, but a little bit closer, to that top 6, top 7. That would be nice. But everything comes with time, and we're not in any hurry. And this is the lovely thing: there's no big hurry. The big thing for us this season was to stay up, and that's what we've managed to do, despite it looking near on impossible. So we should be thankful for that. And if we finish 9th next season, that's a solid mid-table position. So to say I'm disappointed, I wouldn't be disappointed. Possibly underwhelmed, as I say, depending on who gets brought in the summer. But I do think it's all progressive and it's all going in the right direction. So I think 9th would be a good finish.
Yeah. I'm inclined to agree with you. It's an interesting situation. You look at where we are now, and you're thinking, nah, surely we want to be higher than that next season. And of course we will. And you know what? The most important thing is Eddie Howe and the boys will as well. They'll be looking at next season thinking, we want to go as high as possible.
Yeah.
What we've achieved since November or even December or even in January onwards, what we've achieved since that point, we put that into a full season, we could be up there challenging. And that should be, and I hope that is their mindset of the players.
We're too scared to say it, aren't we? We're too scared to say it because it could.
Yeah, it's definitely the mindset. It's definitely the mindset of Eddie Howe. This is Eddie Howe, and I am loving this, no doubt about it, Colin. I'm loving every moment of this. It would definitely be the mentality of Eddie Howe, but it's whether we can sustain that over a period of the season. And the one thing I said on the reaction show, and it's the one thing that I maintain. You look at what we've done since even January. We've produced Champions League form in order to stay in the league and stay in the league very comfortably. When nobody thought that we'd have a chance to even compete to stay in the league, we've produced Champions League form to get to where we are right now. We don't need to produce Champions League form next season. We just need to be regularly consistent over the course of the season. I think we'll be better than just regularly consistent next season, personally. But all we need to do is be regularly consistent next season and not have such an awful start, an awful 14 games of the season to give us kind of to give us sort of something to chase early on. If we start well and just build from there, a little bit like what we did when we finished 5th. We went unbeaten in our first 10 games, and we were hard to beat. And we won games, we drew games, but we were hard to beat. That gave us that momentum to just kick on and just keep going. Teams' mentalities against us were different because they were worried about us. We then grow an element of confidence. That's what we've done this season, and if we can maintain that into next season, like anything's possible. But the one thing I'll say is that I wouldn't be against a 9th position finish if it meant we were nowhere near ever being in a relegation conversation.
Yeah.
If we were constantly around the 10th, 9th, 8th position for the whole season, fighting up there in the talk for Europe, maybe not get it this season, but certainly in the talk for Europe. If we were in around that and never even in the conversation for relegation, I would take that.
That's what I was saying before. If we were in that fight where we're a bit closer than what we are now, Pete, because a few people are talking Europe, aren't they? And it's nice to even be having that conversation, but it's not realistic that we're going to get Europe this season. But next season, if we end up fighting in the last 3, 4, 5, 6 games, we end up dropping down to 9th, but we've been in that mix.
Yeah,
that's got to be positive.
I would take it 8-9 with a good cup run and that competition. That would that would do me as well. Great point, just a bit more bet on the cup. That's what I would make. That's what I would like. You finished 8-9, good cup run. Like you said, Chris, if we're like 5 games towards the end of the season, possibly we'll get any higher 9 to 8. You'll take that, but a good cup run I would take.
Boys, which cup? Which cup are we going for? If you're gonna go for one, which one are you going for?
League Cup.
Yeah. Chris?
I don't know. I'm a bit of an old romantic. I'd love to. I mean, imagine the scenes if we won the FA Cup. It'd just be like, I'm not knocking the Carabao Cup, but yeah, I'm not knocking the Carabao. I'll take any cup, any trophy. But winning the FA Cup, like it's a shame, really, isn't it? Because over the last few years, the last 10, 15 years, whether that's because the bigger clubs have kind of started playing weaker sides, it's kind of took the shine off the cups a little bit. Not for me personally, as Newcastle fans, we'd love a trophy. Don't get me wrong, sorry, a cup, but I do think like it's been disrespected a little bit. I mean, Pete, Darren, you'll remember like in the 90s or early noughties, winning the FA Cup, that was huge. You'd be watching the FA Cup final on the telly, you wouldn't miss it.
Yeah.
And now
you used to love the last game, especially the FA Cup start, build up, start 8 o'clock. You watch it all day long, wouldn't you? I love it.
That's right.
At the morning, 8 o'clock, watching the FA Cup build up. I used to watch all the time every year.
You watch them. You watch the players kind of hanging around the hotel entrance. They go onto the coach and watch the coach from the hotel all the way traveling to Wembley. People commenting on it all day. That's even before they got to the ground. Then you see them on the pitch. It just had like a proper feel to it, and it's a shame that it's not quite the same as that now. I mean. But for me, like I would love nothing more to win an FA Cup. However, I think our realistic chance is the League Cup. And the reason being is because at that point in the season when the League Cup is in its height is around the time that a lot of the top clubs are prioritising Champions League football. And what you tend to find is a number of those clubs get knocked out because they're prioritising they're prioritising a good start in the league. But also they're prioritising the fact that they're then just about to enter a Champions League group phase, and therefore they don't play their strongest sides. Now we've had over the years, even under Bruce, we've had fantastic draws where even when we've had great draws, and I'm thinking even against Premier League sides like Burnley last season, for example, at home, we lost on penalties. That's the kind of game that we could play a strong team, destroy them, wipe the floor with them, knock them away, and really progress into the cup because we're in a position where we're not playing European football and we can just go for it. And we will hopefully start to build a team where we can maybe bring one or two players in. We might bring in a Willock next season, or we might bring in a Callum Wilson because the main number one striker is starting games. So Callum Wilson gets a cup run, whereas we were protecting him in the cup. He might then be starting in the cup. It might be the case that Dubravka comes in because our number one goalkeeper is in, or vice versa. You know what I mean? Dan Burn, who's been outstanding, and this is just hypothetical, he might not come to us. If Sven Botman comes in as the left-sided centre-back, Dan Burn then comes in on the cup run. We're going in with strong players in a cup run. That makes a difference. And then as you get onto the cup, we might be lucky and get a fantastic draw. But when we come against the better teams, we've got a team that's strong enough to really go at these teams and really commit them. And I just think there's a real opportunity there that I think we as a club need to take advantage of, because for 14 years, it's been discarded massively. We discard the FA Cup. We always have under Ashley, but we've discarded the League Cup even more so. And it's only really by luck that we've ever got relatively far in the Carabao Cup or the League Cup in years gone by. But I think it'd be a great opportunity for
I was there on the opposite in the FA Cup semi-final at Old Trafford. The crowd that was second last row, the big stand, the stand was shaking. I mean, shaking. We could feel it wobbling. And we're bouncing. I walked down when we walked playing Man U, sing the heart of Chelsea. I was there. Chelsea, great experience. Like it's just the buzz of going to the cup final. The hairs, you're just like, wow, get there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. No better feeling than that. And as the nervousness and the potential of winning a cup. Bringing a cup home for the first time in God knows how many years, that would just be unbelievable. Newcastle fans alone would fill an 80,000 stadium at Wembley. Easy. We would on our own. So
and there'd be another 20 or 30 outside the stadium. You couldn't get a ticket.
Watching it on the big screen.
The go on general sale for Arsenal tomorrow, so the waiting list on that's going to be better than you know what I mean.
Last game of the season. They'll be like Liverpool, 24 hours sold out. Last game of the season, Monday night, doesn't matter. They'll get sold out. There's no doubt about it, and rightly
Pete,
so.
we've got a little bit of breaking news here. So this is from John Justice Allen. Colin Wilson, Luke Bailey, Rachel and Colin Wilson all winning 2 tickets. Email john@nufcmatters.com to claim your tickets. So congratulations.
Well done,
Well done,
guys. Guys and girls, fantastic stuff. And is that Colin Wilson? Is it Colin Wilson twice? There was 2 Colin Wilsons in there.
Oh yeah, Colin Wilson. So good he won it twice.
Colin Wilson and Colin Wilson, or is it just the one? If John's in the chatting and can confirm that, but Vince Smith is also the winner. Is that right? Contact John.
Yeah, contact John at NUFC, john@nufcmatters.com to claim your tickets. So yeah, Vince, same applies to you, mate. Make sure you get in touch with John at john@nufcmatters.com to claim those tickets.
Well done, guys. And enjoy the game. When you collect your tickets, enjoy the game. Brilliant stuff. Absolutely.
Making a bit of history.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Let's make some history. But Darren, final points before we head off. Anything you want to say?
A bit of Chris on this. I think Everton will survive, and I think they'll win. I think they'll get 7 points up 3 game. That's
huge.
I think with how Chelsea's not playing great at the minute, I think their morale down. Everton at home can give. I don't know what it is. I just feel Everton will steal. I know. I'm hoping I'm wrong. But I think Everton will steal. Sorry, but I think Everton will steal. But something's telling.
No, I think you made a good point. They can be. They've been so lucky. I mean, against us at Goodison Park, they were extremely lucky. Leicester, last minute goal. Chris, you talked about it before. Your son was at the game. Last minute goal. It ended up getting a point. So that's 4 points from that. Playing against a horrific Man United team, but needed a massive deflection in order to beat them from Gordon. That's 7 points. That's 7 points. They could have been down. They could have been long gone by now. Without those results, they could have been long gone. And a lot of that is through luck. A lot of that is through luck.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, looking at our game alone, how they won that game with 10 men. It was a gift, wasn't it? An absolute gift. And then the Man United game, yeah, you're right. I mean, Man United is so bad. Like, they were so bad.
I just think they'll be lucky. I just think they'll be lucky.
Yeah. No, I see what you mean. And do you know what? They put up a spirited performance in the first half against Liverpool, albeit they never looked dangerous. But interestingly, they came out in the second half, and as soon as they started to have a go at Liverpool, and do you know what? I don't know whether you lads agree with this, but or if you saw the game at the derby, what I thought was really interesting was Everton sat so deep, and Liverpool, they contained them really well. But as soon as Everton broke early in that second half, Liverpool didn't know what to do. Like Anthony Gordon tethered that left-hand side. Trent dealt with him okay a couple of times, but a couple of times he got through. And I thought to myself, I wonder if Eddie Howe's watching this and thinking, that's how I'm going to play. That's how I'm going to do it. Because Liverpool looked uncomfortable, mate. They really did.
I think you hit the nail on the head, Chris. If Maximin can run at them, and as Arnold, he can't defend.
No.
Seems like so. Maximin is due a good performance, like Pete says. He's due one. He's definitely got due on Maximin. If he can run at Arnold, it's a good shout for us. That's I'm saying. Like, but put pressure on the back four. They leave gaps when they go forward on a quick counter attack.
Well, this is the thing with how high up their fullbacks get.
Mm-hmm.
That in one sense is good for them because they get good crossing into the box, they attack well, but I think we've got good defensive aerial ability. You've got Dan Burn that's a man mountain in the air. Shaw's good. Dubravka's going to need to come out and collect a lot on Saturday. He's going to need to be off his line. He's going to need to be big and strong in the air, coming collecting corners, balls into the box to really take the pressure off the defence. He's going to need to do that. And I think with Dan Burn, Shaw, targets decent in the air. Kraft is decent in the air. As fullbacks, they're decent in the air. We've got some aerial ability, but we've got some control on the ball. And we'll have times where we keep control of the ball. We like to do that. And they're going to have to come and press us. They're going to, Salah and Mane and in their midfield are going to have to come and press us. But we're going to take the game to them at times as well. We're going to press them and make it difficult for them on the ball. Thiago is not going to have the type of space in time that he had against Everton and Man United, because whoever we play midfield, whether it's Guimarães, whether it's Joe Linton, they're just not going to allow it. They're just not going to allow that time on the ball.
I think it's what you said, Pierre. I think it'll be the same team we'll play against Crystal Palace start on Saturday.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that. But like I said, question for you: last game of the season, would you take to defeat to put Everton down, or would you take a draw to keep them up? Was it?
I'll answer this diplomatically, Pete.
Go on.
And Davin, I'm answering your question, obviously, but if, and I'm trying to say this without causing any upset to any Everton fans, if it doesn't affect Newcastle's league position, then I'd be happy to hand Burnley a win. But if Newcastle can climb up the table with a win, then I'd want Newcastle to win.
Yes, good question.
As much as I dislike Everton, I dislike Newcastle United losing even more. And so for me, if it means Newcastle United are winning matches, I don't care whether we need the 3 points or not. This is just my opinion. I want as good a momentum as possible to go into next season. If it means we go into next season with real good momentum, I want us to win. Personally, just my personal opinion, I don't think it's going to go to the last day. I think
be done.
Burnley could be home and dry by the time it gets to the last day of the season. That's just my personal opinion, because I'm not convinced that the games that Everton are probably banking on, which is the Watford away, Brentford and Palace at home, I'm not convinced they're going to get the points that they need.
But that's an interesting one from Derek Sharp, Pete.
Yeah, but I can see, but Burnley's style of football, for me, I think Burnley are more likely to win than Everton.
Gets them over the line.
Yeah. I think Burnley will beat Watford.
And what's the reason why Burnley are more likely to beat Watford away? What's the reason?
Effectively solid.
Yes.
Exactly.
Did you see the build up to their goal on the weekend? Burnley's goal.
No, I've not caught the goal yet.
I haven't seen it.
It starts from the back, the pass it way forward. If that was like say a Man U Liverpool, there would have been like what a build up. Yeah. So if you watch how they scored their goal, it's a good build up from the back to the front. It's a good finish.
And I just think that is something that Everton can't do. Everton can't bring the ball out from the back. Everton are not defensively solid. Everton haven't got the best goalkeeper out of the two. Nick Pope, in my opinion, is better than Jordan Pickford.
Made a few good saves too on Saturday.
Yeah. As well. Burnley have got a better defensive unit. For me, I just think that they've got a team that I think will keep them in the league, and they're riding high at the moment. They're confident. I think Burnley will beat Watford at the weekend. That's just my opinion.
I think you're right.
And I think by the end of the weekend, I think Burnley will be 5 points clear of Everton, and that puts serious pressure on Everton. Serious pressure. That can either bring the best out of you, or that can resign some of your players to relegation. Now, it goes back to the point that we've talked about before. We go back to 2009. We go back to 2000. I think 2015-16 season when we got relegated. What were the key elements to that season? To both of those seasons, is that you had players in 2009: Owen, Viduka, Obafemi Martins, Damien Duff, a number of others that knew we get relegated. I find another club. well, I'll be all right myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
The same in when we got relegated the next time round. Wijnaldum, Janmaat, Sissoko, Hovan, all those boys. Yeah, we get relegated. I'll find another club, and they did. Everton, they've got players in there that are thinking exactly the same. Richarlison, who they bank on.
He's dreadful, Richarlison. The amount of Davey did on Sunday was ridiculous. Yeah, young kids don't even do that down the field. How he's getting tapped on his shoulder, he's running about, it's like he's being shot.
It's embarrassing. It's
too
embarrassing.
much Neymar behaviour.
Yeah. It's crazy, and I just think there's so many others. Pickford's another one that'll be thinking to themselves. Yerry Mina will be another one as well, thinking, we go down. Yeah, someone will take me. I'll find another club in the Premier League. I won't be playing in the Championship, and that might be their mentality if they end up at the end of the weekend being 5 points behind. That's just my thing. But look, Darren, I'll end it there because we've got another waiting in the wings. But absolutely top to talk to you, mate.
Cheers, boys. Thank you.
No problem at all. Great questions and points as always. And
Take care, mate.
We'll catch up with you soon, mate. Top man.
Ta-ra, mate.
See you later.
Take care, mate.
Great to have Darren on. Great points as always. Fantastic stuff. And look, it's a very interesting situation. Like we're flying high. Can we maintain this top 10? Top 10 onslaught, should we say? Can we put, not necessarily take over Wolves, but can we put a little bit of pressure on them? Can we pull away from the likes of Leicester? Can we cause a little bit of an upset in the title race? Can we beat Arsenal and put a dent in their top four? There's some really, really fantastic points that we've had a discussion about tonight. It's been a really, really good chat so far, and there's more to come. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Pete. Do you know what? Just hearing you say that, like, just imagine if we finish this season above Palace and Leicester. It's like, how's that even possible? From where we were in December, how is that even possible? And how many times do you hear like media, pundits waxing lyrical about Patrick Vieira's Crystal Palace and Brendan Rodgers' Leicester, and then little old Newcastle Eddie Howe should be getting the credit that he deserves, and quite often he doesn't. And doesn't it make you laugh as well that like pundits and other people, other well-known podcasters even on YouTube are coming out who support other clubs and saying, "Oh, isn't it incredible to see what 90 million in the January transfer window gets you?" And you just think, what such a weak opinion. Like anybody, I think we've spoken about this before. Anybody who knows football and has watched Newcastle and knows about the injuries we've had, the performances of players who are actually at the club, not even the new signings, would appreciate the fact that we're not in the position that we are now because of a 90 million transfer window. Absolutely not. I mean, well, I'm not even going to go into it, Pete, because we all know that. But it's just so frustrating, isn't it, when you're getting so-called experts or people, with a lot of followers on YouTube and seemingly know a lot about football, and then they come out with tripe like that.
It's the one thing I try not to do is get wound up by it, and the reason being is because these journalists, these people in the media, these pundits, these ex-professionals that make these comments, they know that this isn't the case. They know that that's not how it is. They know that it's not about Newcastle throwing money at it to be successful. They know that. They know that Trippier's only played a few games and been injured ever since. They know that our best striker at the club hasn't kicked a ball in 4 months, nearly 5 months. They know that Alan St-Maximin was out for 3 weeks and during our run of unbeaten games. It's all about their frustration. It's all about their anger, because a lot of these journalists and pundits don't support Newcastle United. And it goes back to the point with Jamie Carragher yesterday, saying that Everton are a bigger club, or in his mind considered a bigger club than Newcastle United. The reason why Jamie Carragher, and he can sit He can sit outside Shearer's bar and have nice conversations with Alex Hurst, Adam, Holly, and I can't remember the other person, whoever else was in there. I think it was Norman Riley the first time, someone else the second time. Emile Franchi, I think it might have been. So I carried having conversations outside on a Friday night with those guys, and it was a good conversation. But the reality of it is that Jamie Carragher is an Everton fan.
Yeah, he is.
Simple as that. He's an Everton fan. He's an Everton boy. He played for Liverpool, but he's an Everton fan. And the key to it is that he has a prominent role on Sky Sports, a real prominent role on Sky Sports. Now, it's easy for him to talk about Everton and Liverpool because he knows the clubs. He knows the players. He has background information and people in the know that he can go to for additional information about those clubs because he's so tight-knitted to those clubs. He's not the same with Newcastle United. Neither is Gary Neville. And that's why they're frustrated by it, because if Newcastle become a big club and a talking point of a club, they've got really no in about knowing the key elements of those clubs. Gary Neville's got a background of Man City. Jamie Carragher's got a background of Liverpool. They get on one or two others that talk about Chelsea. So they're easy. Man United, Gary Neville talks about them all day. Arsenal, they might get one or two others on, but nobody really knows the background and the detail about Newcastle, and they don't want to know. And that's the key, is that they don't want to be travelling up to Newcastle, covering big games about Newcastle week in, week out. They don't mind doing it once, twice a season, but not every week. But they're going to have to soon enough. They're going to have to be making those trips. They're going to have to be having those conversations with ex-Newcastle players or people prominent within the club, or more importantly, fans of the Newcastle or people that are in, whether it's YouTube or whatever. They're going to need to have more conversations with people in and around Newcastle because we're going to have more of a say as it goes on. And that's what they don't want. That's what they don't like. That's why Danny Murphy and people like that don't like Newcastle. Danny Murphy, people like Danny Mills, why? Is because they wanted to come to Newcastle during their careers and they were rejected because we didn't want them. They're still hurting and they're still frustrated by that. Gabriel Bonhor, jealousy, because he sees Newcastle being a bigger club than his Aston Villa. Doesn't like it. And there's so many others as classic examples. Simon Jordan had an issue with Newcastle United because he saw his beloved Crystal Palace as being bigger than them. Now he knows that there's only one way for Newcastle United. He's being more respectful. That's just how it is. Some of them are just going to hate on us because they're jealous and because they don't have an in with Newcastle United the way they have with other clubs. That's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
And
no, I agree, mate. Completely agree. There's a comment there from Roger Cook saying, I may have seen you at the Cambridge game, Pete. Were you in the Gallagher?
No, I wasn't at the Cambridge game, unfortunately. I say unfortunately, obviously it wasn't a great performance, so it might have been a good thing for me that I wasn't there. But no, I watched it. I watched it live on my TV at home. I wasn't at the Cambridge game, unfortunately, but yeah, I was at the Leicester game. Been to many other away games. Hopefully, get to one or two before the end of the season, but we'll see. So yeah, it definitely wasn't me, unfortunately. And yeah. I think there's more questions coming in, but we've got a couple of. There's a couple of guys waiting in the green room that I want to get to ASAP. However, I think at this point now we just need to take a deep breath. Everyone, just kind of take a deep breath, and I will hopefully keep in the chat is timing this because I'm going to try and whiz through some sponsors. So. As we can see, we've got Spider Miner, worldwide coverage for all your internet security. They are the boys to trust. If you want to protect your computer online, Spider Miner are the ones to go to. Thank you for your support. Also, thank you to L&G Family Funeral Directors, 0191 389 7245. Skipsandbins.com, get my words right. 0800-254-5253. Emails, inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website, www.skipsandbins.com. Easy, contract free, and pay-as-you-go waste collection. We've also got Gardener Healing Dispensary. Massive thanks for your support. CBD, hemp, and cannabinoid specialists. Contact them at www.thegohd.com. The main man's in the chat tonight, John Justice Allen. Get in touch at qtech.co.uk for your pool table and snooker table needs in Wallsend, Newcastle. QTech shop are the ones to trust. One of the newest sponsors in the house, we've got Kleekai. So thanks also to Kleekai. You can find Kleekai at kleerun.game. You can also find them at Google Play and also on the Apple Store. Meet the new Game Over screen dropping to a Kleerun device near you. Massive thanks to Media Arts for all your support. And we also have Newcastle Legends. So click the like, comment, and share. Share to other people on social media so they can catch the show. And also click that red button to subscribe as well. As well as that, if you've missed the live show, you can get the playback 24 hours or so after the show's gone live. It'll be on iTunes and Spotify. Also, on your phone, you can scan the barcode and you can be entered into a prize draw, which is a monthly draw. So scan the barcode on your screen now, and you have a chance to win some fantastic prizes that you can see on screen as Steve has fantastically put a picture together. You can be part of the call, which the number are in the chat already. Thanks to John, you can have the opportunity to, if you subscribe to the show, to receive a car window sticker, NUFC Matters. And if you're at the home match days, and I'm pretty sure it'll be on again this weekend as well, previewing the fantastic, massive game between the two informed clubs in the Premier League right now, Newcastle and Liverpool. Join them at the Dog and Parrot in Newcastle. Fantastic place. Been there many times for Steve, Holly, and Super Mac, who will be previewing the game. If you're not able to be at the game and support the food bank and give your donations in person, we have the Newcastle Fans Foodbank.co.uk, the Matchday Bucket. You can make sure that you give and support the NUFC Fans Food Bank from that point as well. We've already talked about this tonight, and John Justice Allen has given some winning tickets out to some very worthy, fantastic fans on the chat tonight. So Sunday, May the 1st at St James's Park, 2:00 kickoff. The Newcastle United women's team are playing Barnsley women. First time ever at St James's Park. Let's try and break that women's record. 26,000 or so, I think, is the record for a women's game. Let's see if we can break that, Newcastle United fans. If there's any fans in England to ever do that, it'll be Newcastle United fans, no doubt about it. Absolutely. Tickets have been available for a prize draw through John Justice Allen. But if you want to go and support, get yourself involved as well and support the fantastic women's team that are only on their way up. There is no doubt about it. And hopefully there'll be many more games at St James's Park in the future. That is the sponsors, quicker than I anticipated. Tried to whip through it because we want to get back to NUFC Matters Fans Forum discussions. And look, we've got a couple waiting in the chat, so I'm not going to wait around anymore. Let's get them on. And a very special welcome to this man, Jimmy Moore. How are you, Jimmy?
Oh, bed rest is really sucks, but other than that, I'm doing fine.
Well, Jimmy, it's great to see you. Great to have you back on the show. I know it's obviously you tweeted out, and we had a conversation yesterday. Obviously, it's going to be a difficult month for you ahead. However, we are adamant we're going to produce as much content as possible to keep you busy in order to get through the next month and show you the support, and hopefully we have the wins to keep you smiling, mate. But from your perspective, talk to us about Newcastle United. Talk to us about how you're feeling right now.
Oh, I feel great. It's like I tweeted you after the match that we pretty much beat their ass, and it was. I hate to kick a team when they're down, but I can remember we were down there with them,
yeah,
and we would have beaten them before, but that unfortunate red card, but I mean, the fact that we played what I considered a watered down lineup and probably produced some of the three best goals that you'll see all season. I mean, Joe Linton, here's the thing. And Eddie he'll have a whole off season to work on this. We know that he has no idea where the ball's going when it comes off when it comes to a shot. But when he puts that thing on target, it goes in. I mean, he's got a massive, massive leg. And you give him time where he doesn't fall in the box or trip over himself, If he puts that thing on target, it's got some heat behind it.
Yeah.
That was an amazing. And Bruno, I mean, the man, when he scores, it's the goal of the week. He doesn't score average goals.
No.
And I'm thinking, I would be calling Paquette, his boy Paquette, and say, look, man, you should have let me have some more shots. I got, sick of feeding your ass. For somebody that it's quite a question his goal scoring ability. You name someone in the league that's had prettier goals.
They've been fantastic, haven't they?
Yeah.
You go through them. You got the little flick against Southampton.
Goal of the year.
Yeah, you got the very sort of tenacious, passionate, never give up goal against Leicester, where most players they would have seen it in between Kasper Schmeichel's legs and probably would have given it up, but he didn't. He just kept kicking away, managed to kick it through his legs, got the goal, and then he scores a fantastic goal to win us the game, and then obviously that little delightful chip. You're absolutely right.
Don't forget the header.
I wouldn't mind a rasper against Liverpool to win us the game.
Oh.
Well, you got, and I've heard a lot of pundits say this. Liverpool, Man City, they have European matches come up. When they were looking at the schedule, they're like, okay, it's Newcastle. We can put a watered-down team in, protect our spot. It's an automatic win. But they're saying now it's like Klopp and Pep may not want to play a watered-down team against Newcastle because in their form, even a draw massively hurts those teams.
Yeah, it does. You're right.
They need that 3 points. And the Arsenal, it's no longer a given. They're fighting for Champions League. They can't rest players. So
it's a great point you make, Jimmy, because you're absolutely right in what you say. And if you somebody wrote in the comments earlier on, and they were saying that, quite rightly so, that Newcastle is second in the form league since I believe the turn of the year. And they're going to be looking at this game and thinking, do you know what? The one place we don't want to go and play a football match is St James's Park. I mean, when we went to Goodison, Pete, I don't know if you heard this or not, but I was told before the game by a lot of Everton fans, oh, we've got the flags up tonight. We're going to be really, it's going to be a real big atmosphere tonight. And honest to God, I was stood in the away end and I looked over. I don't know if it was at the Howard Kendall stand. I was looking anyway. I looked at two stands and I forget which ones they were, and I counted 3 flags. And I was like, really? Is this what you call really getting up for an atmosphere?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, Liverpool always create a really good atmosphere, to be fair to them. And you know, Man City struggle with any kind of atmosphere, really, don't they? Because they struggle to fill the stadium. But they will not want to come to St James's Park because the players know on the pitch, certainly the Newcastle players, that they've got 52,000 people right behind them. And that gives us that extra little boost. And especially now, Pete, as you said earlier, we haven't got that monkey on our back. We haven't got that, oh, we might need the points because you don't want to get dragged into it. That's all done now. That's all done. And I think these Newcastle players have got nothing to fear. And Jimmy's absolutely right when he says the likes of Arsenal, the likes of City, the likes of Liverpool, they can't drop points. Tottenham are hot on the heels of Arsenal now. Arsenal have got to go out there and make sure that they pick up as many points as possible. And City and Liverpool, I mean, City a bit easier because obviously they're at home. But Liverpool, honestly, I literally cannot wait for that game at the weekend because Liverpool will not fancy coming to St James's Park. I'm convinced of it. I'm not saying we're going to win, but it's not going to be, oh, turn up, we'll take 3 points, like they have done in recent years. Liverpool just turn up and just expect to win. Even under Bruce, we get them a game. Was that the game where Fabinho threw himself on the floor when Richie was near the corner flag, and then they got the free kick and they won? Was it 3-2? I think it was 3-2. Mate, it was never a free kick. It was never a free kick. And they were lucky then, and that was under Steve Bruce. Now, under Eddie Howe, with, you know, rejuvenated form, the players that we've got, the fans 110% behind the team, they're going to be panicking. They are going to be panicking this weekend, I'm telling you.
That game was under Rafa. That was Rafa.
Oh, sorry, it was Rafa. Yeah, it was Rafa. Yeah.
I don't think Bruce was capable of doing that.
It wouldn't have happened under Bruce. So you're quite right. You're quite right. Yeah.
Well, you had mentioned earlier, would I be happy with a night play finish next season? And my response is hell no. Because you look at it, we had an out of shape team, and we gave the Premier League, we took 5 minutes off. You look in that time, how many points we lost from winning positions?
It was a lot.
You put Eddie Howe, a team in shape, and let's just say take 3 of those results and turn them into wins. I can think back to the Lascelles handball against Southampton early in the season. That's 9 points. We're fighting for Europe's. This is after giving the league a 5 months, grace period, throwing away points. How an in-shape team would have changed at least 3 results. 3 results, we're in Europe. Or fighting. We're right there. So no, I don't want a ninth place finish because we've already shown since January we're one of the best teams in the league. We're a top 6 team.
Yeah.
So hell no.
How great is it? How great is it that we're talking about? Like Jimmy's just gone past 9th and 10th. He's gone, forget that. Europe. You know what? I'll go beyond Europe. Top 6. Like, how great is it that we did that?
3 results. 3 results. It's European football. You look at it. That's 52 points.
Potentially, yeah.
That's why. No, I don't want to. I mean, this project has been accelerated since January. These owners know what they're doing. We will bring in the right people. We're not, top four is probably another year away after next season. But hey, 5, 6. I mean, I had no idea what I was like Brendan Rodgers. What the fuck's the Conference League? But I'll take it. I'll take it. I mean, hell, if you want to have throw out a Walker's Chip Cup, I'll take that. Send me down to the Intertoto again. Hell, let's win that. Just something. But yeah, I expect to be higher up, the table. And speaking of the blue turds, those are Everton. That's a lot. I've heard this a lot over the past 2 weeks. The Premier League, if they go down, the Premier League basically bent the rules for them. They should have been deducted points, and they should be in the bottom 3 right now. It just shows you the Premier League has no spine when it comes to, historical great clubs. But part of that was they're going to have to sell off players, whether they stay or they go down, because Premier League, let's say they send off $50 million worth of players. Well, that's the Premier League is going to say, okay, you've paid down the debt, but we're only going to allow you to spend $15 million during, in your transfer window, because the Premier League they're basically on a salary cap. They're going to have to sell, and basically you're looking Anthony Gordon. He's homegrown. He'll stick around.
Mm-hmm.
And Solomon Rondon is going to be your starting striker. And maybe they can, I hate to say it, but maybe they can sign Sean Longstaff. That'll be their big signing.
You know what? That's a genuine good point. But I just want to rewind back. I still can't get the fact that you refer to Everton as the blue turds. that is just an outstanding reference that I hope everybody in the chat has heard and is now using. But the point I wanted to come back to, actually, Solomon Rondon. What has happened to him? We were desperate. We were begging to get him back in the summer. And there were some fans, and I was a little bit distraught. I think we talked about it, Chris, on a few of the loaded shows. We were a little bit distraught to kind of, not get Rondon back and have him as an option, as a bit of a support to Callum Wilson. But he looks less than half the player that we saw wearing the black and white at Newcastle United. What are your thoughts on that, guys?
I think it's quite simple what's happened to Solomon Rondon. I think it's one word. I think it's China. I think he spent a reasonable amount of time in a much poorer league, a league where expectations are probably a lot lower. And I think he's come back to the Premier League. Not saying he's out of shape in any way, but I think he's come back to the Premier League, and because his levels have dropped so much, he's now come back in, and it's kind of been Everton have been like, we need you right now. And also, I do feel a little bit sorry for Rondon in the sense that, a lot of Everton fans have been saying to me, "Oh, he's crap. Why did you like him? He's crap." And I was like, "Yeah, but he needs a run of games. He needs 4, 5, 6, 7 games in the team. Stick with him week in, week out, and give him a shot." And I think with Everton, he's been very stop-start. Obviously, Rafa brought him in, really liked him, and then Rafa ended up dropping him, probably due to his, due to maybe, I don't know, integrating back into the Premier League. I'm not sure. And then obviously Frank Lampard's come in, and I don't think Frank Lampard particularly fancies him. So he's kind of stuck in a bit of a rut. But make no mistake, I think with a full pre-season, especially if it's in the Championship, I think Solomon Rondon will be an integral part of getting Everton back up next season.
Yeah, well, him and Anthony Gordon and Dwight Hale can fight for the Golden Boot.
Yeah, absolutely.
My last point is something that keeps getting repeated by pundits that I'm listening to, and it's the fact that should Everton go down with the depth that they're in, the limits that they can spend, everyone, the narrative is, could we be looking at the next Sunderland?
Potentially. What do you think, Pete?
They may not, hover in League One, but could be a team that is stuck as mid-table in the Championship. And unless the Premier League bends more rules for them, that bounce back up, because we know Norwich is going to bounce back up. They always do. And they, quite frankly, will have better players. But where does this leave Everton? The nicest stadium in the Championship is what they're going to have when they open it. The Blue Turds.
Blue Turds.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah, I think. Well, Chris, what do you think about that?
I think Jimmy's spot on. I mean, it's a funny. The whole thing's just weird. Like for me, I still struggle to kind of like. I don't know. This sounds dramatic. I still kind of struggle to come to terms with Everton being in the position that they're in. Like I just think like they've never been relegated. I'm used to Everton. Don't get me wrong. Everton have always kind of been in the shadows of Liverpool. I'm sorry, any Everton fans who are watching this or see this, but it's true. And that can't have been easy. But now, they've had a couple of great escapes. They've, Kevin Campbell at one point, I remember in the mid-90s, he did fantastically well for them. How much they need him now. But I'm still really on the fence. I'm still really, really on the fence over how it's going to pan out for Everton. I mean, Everton's pointing to the fact that they're not going to be able to do enough, and the fact that Burnley have had an upturn in results and stuff. But it's going to be a fascinating running. But Everton, if they do go down, it's going to be far from easy. And I think Jimmy's spot on. When he said that he mentioned about Rondon and Gordon, players like that will stick around absolutely. But it's about recruiting the right people, and also the boards are going to have to ask themselves: is Frank Lampard the right person to bring them back up? And that's another question.
I mean, they really, the only hope for Everton is new ownership to come in and pay the debts, because in the pace they're going now. I mean, granted that the league's let Manchester United carry debts for over a decade, ever since the Glazers came in. So, and my hatred I liked Everton up until 2003. And I was a photojournalist, and I did an interview over here with Andy Gray. And the cocksucking motherfucker blew me off for an autograph. He asked him for I asked him for a autograph, and he said, "Well, just come to my signing." Well, the signing was $5 a headshot. I'm like, you douchebag.
Jesus.
So that, my opinion turned on with Andy Gray. And
the whole club was just done.
There was no happier person in the world than when he got kicked off. Him and Richard Keys. When he got in trouble, I was no happier person. Like, see, comes around, goes around, and you can get help. But breaking news, it looks like Elon Musk has now purchased Twitter.
He owns Twitter, yeah.
Which is his platform. One of the things he was wanting to do to avoid European restrictions on like, I guess, trolling, bullying. He wanted to require every member of Facebook to scan an ID. This way, these people could be they could be easily tracked. That's his big thing, and if you don't want to scan your ID, then you're not going to be able to have an account.
It's going to be a lot of upset shoals, isn't there, going forward?
Yeah. Shadow accounts. He's going to attack shadow accounts. So, yeah. But that's it. You know, the self-appointed president of the Atlanta Mags, and you know, the wounded Mags. I'm out. I'm done. I'm gonna drink a beer.
Jimmy,
I
tell you what, Gary's just hit the nail on the head with that comment there. You are an absolute diamond. Honestly, your comments tonight have been fantastic, and I think everyone will now be referring to Everton as the Blue Turds. There is no doubt. There is no doubt about it. I certainly will be.
Yeah. What he meant was you swallow coal, you shit a diamond. So that's what.
That is true. But Jimmy, absolutely spot on. Honestly, superb guest as always on the show. Some great points. There's a few in the chat that have said, "Look, I love Jimmy because he just keeps it real. He just says it how it is, and that's what we love about you, and that's why it's such a pleasure for me and Chris to have you on the show every week to give your thoughts on Newcastle. Always a pleasure. Look, from a personal point of view, I hope your recovery goes well. Like I say, we'll have lots and lots of content for you to keep you busy, to keep you occupied, and for you to get involved in over the next month. So don't worry about that. And I'm sure Newcastle United will put the performances in to keep that smile on your face, mate. But keep positive.
Yeah.
Stay positive.
Absolutely.
Keep that smile on your face, because it's what we as Newcastle fans absolutely love about you, is that you're happy, you're smiling, you enjoy being a part of this community just as we do, and it's great to have you a part of everything, mate.
And thanks to all my newfound Geordie families. I mean, over 600 well wishes, and like shit, nobody from the United States, and maybe one or two people. So God bless you. And God bless Newcastle United.
You take care, Jimmy.
You take care, Jimmy.
Brandy and Blaze, I'm out.
Top man. You take care. Speak to you soon.
Take care, Jimmy. See you later, mate.
See you later.
Brandy and Blaze, I forgot about
that. Absolute legend, honestly. He had me in stitches tonight, Jimmy did. There's one point I just couldn't control it. I was just giggling to myself. But yeah, he's
Jimmy went from like 0 to 60 on Andy Gray, didn't he? In about 3 seconds. He was talking about Everton and like his dislike for Everton in 2003, and then he just went to town on Andy Gray.
But you know what? I think it was deserved. I think it was more than deserved. That's for sure. But yeah, some really, really good points in the chat. Interesting about obviously Elon Musk is taking over Twitter. How that's going to change things for the trolls that we talked about. I think is really, really interesting. That's one definitely to keep an eye on. That is for sure. Lots and lots of moving parts with regards to that. And look, let's get our final guest of the evening on. He's been waiting patiently, and another regular. Welcome in, Alan. How you doing, Alan?
Well done, Chris. Pete, I can't beat Jimmy. That last comment I found you here was absolutely fantastic. Well, another great week for the lads. Crystal Palace in midweek. Norwich. I was more worried about Norwich than I was Crystal Palace, actually, because they're the sort of fixtures we slip up. A right banana skin, lads.
Yeah.
So I was over the moon at Joe Linton, scoring 2 wonderful goals. What an embarrassment Dean Smith is, lads. I'll go on to his comment about the transfer window. Chris, I know you're sick of talking about spending, but he's got to look himself in the mirror. He spent 320 million at Aston Villa over 3 years. And look at where Villa are now.
It's great.
320 million. And he's complaining about a so-called country spending 90 million. Come on. I've got a black armband on my arm, Chris, for Everton. I don't think you can see it, but I've got it for your lass. I've got a black armband on for her. It couldn't have went better than that. But to be fair, Chris, if we want to win and if we keep Everton up, tell your lass she owes you a drink and a few beers if we keep them up on the last day. We beat Burnley and Everton don't beat Arsenal. But I still want Everton down, obviously. But I cannot say that on live on TV. But no, it was fantastic. As far as the Jamie Carragher debate, I thought pantomime season started in January. I really did. Because, Chris, say to your lass, we are the 5th biggest average attendances throughout history of the English game. Our success has been appalling compared to Everton's. Man United are top, Liverpool are second, Arsenal are third, and bearing in mind, lads, they have won 52 titles amongst them. No wonder they've got bigger attendances than what we have. Tottenham are 4th, and we're 5th, and Tottenham are in London. So how are you? Everton are nowhere near us. I thought it was a joke. I thought it was Peter Kay's joke when he said about Everton being the biggest club getting relegated. We are. It's a national scandal, lads. We've been relegated twice in the last 15 years. And that's why outside the area, they don't understand how big a deal it is. Really, honestly, Chris, sit down, you look at the facts and tell your Everton friends, look at the facts throughout 150 years and the rubbish we've had over the last, in my lifetime, Chris, Pete, and yours, we've had rubbish over the last 50 years. And there would be not one of them 4 clubs above us who would have 52,000 fans week in, week out without winning a trophy. They would not have the Busby Babes. And don't forget, Chris, we held the world record average attendance for 25 years until the Busby Babes won the European Cup in 67, 68. We held the world record average attendance. So let everybody out there take that in. We are a massive club. And when Jamie Carragher, and yes, Pete, you're right, he's an Everton boy and he's going to defend Everton. They've won 9 titles. And for titles' sake, yes, they're a bit bigger than us on success. But as far as fans come to the ground, they aren't bigger than us. So put that one to bed. That's how I look at it. The last 4 fixtures are massive, lads. Not for us, for the teams we play. And I'm just going to sit back. We might lose everyone. We might lose everyone for different reasons, lads. The 2 teams, they are phenomenal. Liverpool and Man City. As long as it's not a dodgy VAR decision, Chris, Pete, against the next 2 teams, if we get beat off them, it's because they're better teams, lads. They are phenomenal. Would I accept 9th next season, Pete, Chris? Depends on recruitment. Recruitment, lads. If we get 5 Brunos in, then I wouldn't accept 9th. I would want Europe. But it's about getting this background, getting the training facilities right for these lads. We are an awful lot behind, lads. I hope everybody in the chat realises we're on a phenomenal amount of running, and Eddie Howe has done unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. It's incredible, really. But, keep our feet on the ground. I want the right characters in the club. Chris Pete, who had heard of Andy Robinson? Come from Hull, plays for Liverpool now. Now he's established on one of the best teams in the world. We need characters, the right characters in the team. Dan Burn. Who would think how good Dan Burn's been for us? And he wouldn't have been. We wanted Carlos. We wanted Botman in before him. Look at how well he's done. We need the right 11 characters, but to be honest, 25. It's no good having the showboaters if you haven't got the right characters in the team going forward, lads. And I would say that to anybody. We need to get the right attitude and the right players in the team forward to be successful. And getting Dan Ashworth in, CEO, get the right ones. I have to disagree on the show yesterday, lads. I watched Mick Lewis and I love him to bits. I respect him, but I love the photographs. He argued about not having the photographs after the end of the game. I
haven't seen that, Alan. I haven't seen that. But I agree with you. I love the photographs, and if it pisses everybody off, bring it on.
I would love to have gone
unity, and it's about us as a club. And if we choose to do that, so be it. If other people don't like it, well, beat us then, and then we won't have a photograph. It's getting under their skin, and I love that. I love it.
I love that.
I mean, Chris. Mick Lewis is old school. He said, "I'm old school, but times move on." And I was dying to get on the show, and I didn't go on. I would say, then, Mick, if you disagreed with that, well, I would disagree with Jurgen Klopp going on the pitch with fist pumps every game, doing that. That's exactly
no one's got a problem with that.
That's exactly the same. Without the players there, he's doing it. That, in my eyes, is disrespectful. Then, if that's the case, or not disrespectful, but showing that he's in it together and he's with the fans. And I think the photograph is that with the fans, showing you how delighted they are. And so I'm glad, with like you, Chris, it gets under other fans' skin.
It's the connection between, like you just said, the fans and the club, the players, the manager. It builds that connection. You see the comments and the reaction that you get when the fans see that picture of the players celebrating together. And it's that moment in time. You know those pictures will come back in a year's time, or a year today. This happened. We were at this point. We're at this point in our journey. And it's part of that journey. It's the picture on that journey. Look, I'll be honest, it's not the first time I disagree with Mick Lowe's. There's a lot of Mick Lowe's that I don't agree with regards to his comments. I think he's wrong on a number of things. I'd love to have that conversation with him. He's made a number of comments in various shows with Steve that I just don't agree with. But look, it's all about opinions. He's got his opinion.
It's all about opinions.
For me, I think the photos are the one thing that connects the fans to the club, to the players. And the fact that those pictures came out from the likes of Fabian Schär and Jamal Lascelles. It wasn't a Newcastle United tweet that was coming out initially. It was the players that were putting that out because they wanted to share that with the fans. The fact that they were together. And Eddie Howe was absolutely right. Maybe he didn't want that to come out. He wanted it to be a player thing, a player moment. And I understand that to a certain extent. But the fact that I think that the club have realised that it is a special moment that the fans want to be a part of. The fact that the club are now tweeting it out, and I think it's Serena Taylor that's taking the pictures. She even comments on it. The players then retweet it out there and send their messages or the pictures out on Instagram. They want to let the fans know that they as players, they care. They care as much as we do. And it means as much to them as it does to us. And that's what we need to see as Newcastle United fans. We've had 14 years of having players and owners and managers not necessarily care about the club as much as we do. It's amazing that we've got players now in this squad that care about this club, that care about the performances on the pitch, that care about where this club is going just as much as we do right now. And I think it's important that they relay that message out there to us. And you know what, Chris, you've hit the absolute nail on the head with what you said. If people aren't happy with it, go beat us. Go beat us. Go beat us on a day that ensures that picture doesn't come out. If opposition fans are not happy, don't be angry at us. Be angry at your team that weren't good enough to beat us on the day that ensured that picture didn't come out on Twitter or social media or Instagram, whatever it is. Be angry at your own club. Be angry at your own manager. Be angry at your own players at the fact that they weren't good enough to beat this Newcastle United team. That's the key. That is the key right there. If you're not happy, go put a performance in, that beats us, that ensures that that photo doesn't come out. But I tell you what, these boys are hungry. They've got desire. They've got passion. They care about the club. They want to do whatever they possibly can to ensure that we are in the best position to win matches for Newcastle United, so they can produce photos like that for us. And it's an amazing thing.
And just to add on a couple of things from that, Pete. So the first one, yeah, absolutely agree with what you're saying. And did you see? I'm Alan. I don't know if you saw it as well. Did you see the video of Joe Linton walking into the dressing room, and they were all waiting for him? And then you don't see what happens in the dressing room, but you see him walking in, and everyone's buzzing.
Brilliant, man.
That just emphasises exactly what yourself and Alan have just been saying there, Pete. You know, about how the togetherness of the group and everything like that. And ultimately as well, the second thing I wanted to add on, and not that we should have to justify it, because we absolutely shouldn't, but you know, we're going to be the first team in history to be, with the points tally that we had in December, and we didn't win a game till the 4th of December. The points tally we had to stay up. So the fact that we're celebrating every single week when we pick up 3 points, now, you know, obviously we are over the line, it is done. But what? Sorry, are we not allowed to celebrate that? Is that not something that is it now frowned upon to celebrate a win when your team wins? Is that a thing now? Is that something that you shouldn't do, or it's cringy, or if you don't like it, just don't look at it? And it's a good job you're not a Newcastle fan, because we all love it. We all absolutely love it, and we love that the players love it as much as we do, and that's what you want to see.
One of the members in the chat, lads, Chris, said about his running. I'm a keen runner. Yes, it's me running around Chapel House. Anyway, but I totally agree, Chris. I totally agree. I mean, at the end of the day, Pete, Chris, these are the first owners, apart from Sir John Hall and Freddie Shepherd, that seem as though they care for the club, because the owners of each club that have been successful, like Liverpool, Man United, you know, at the end of the day, they've created the success for the players to be wonderful. And this is the first time in my lifetime I've got hope since the Keegan days that we're going to win a trophy, you know. And to have all this togetherness, that's what you need, from the top to the bottom, to the tea lady, to the person that does the washing. Everything has got to be together. And to be honest with you, it's great to see. Absolutely everybody. We all want different, you know, like we want things to happen tomorrow. It won't happen tomorrow. I wish it was, but we're going in the right direction. I'm going to love to see Liverpool on Saturday, lads. As far as like the League Cup, Pete and Chris, the World Cup might interfere with the League Cup this year going forward. I don't know how the fixtures with a lot of some of our players, like Bruno, might be involved in the World Cup, so it might affect with the League Cup as far as like trying to win it. Would look to think so, but no, couldn't be happier, lads. Couldn't be happier. It's just a question. My main point really was, lads, was recruitment. Darren and James put some great points on before. I was late on the show. I'm sorry if I've missed anybody, but it's about recruitment. That's the key to success. I don't normally agree with Graham Souness, but he was spot on the game against Liverpool, Everton. And yes, Chris, it was a penalty. I thought Gordon should have had a penalty in the second half.
That was a penalty. That was a penalty.
I really did. I thought, not the first one, but definitely the second one.
Yeah,
and
the shove in the back.
And the point you hinted at, lads, about going forward in the second half, Chris, to be honest with you, Chris, I want it to be like that for two halves, because if you remember against Tottenham, we fell into the trap. We felt Liverpool are more dangerous. They couldn't have, and they changed their tactics, Chris. They brought Origi on because it wasn't working in this first half, and they had four forwards up front. Now it's up to our defence to sort that out straight away, because if we do the same as Everton and it's nils each like it was on Sunday, Jurgen Klopp will change the tactics, and we've got to be aware of that. And that's what changed the game. Origi, and they had four forwards coming on, and they went for it. they've got quality, of course, but we fell for the trap against Tottenham, and look at what happened. If you go, we haven't got the players to go all out toe-to-toe with them, lads. No. So I expect very similar. I just hope and pray that we can keep them at bay, and the longer we keep them at bay, the more frustrated they'll become. And that's when we've got a chance in the last 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, totally agree, Alan. That's exactly how I see it panning out as well. You know,
that's how I see the game. As long as we keep it compact and it's nils each, they will be starting to panic. They've got to win.
They've got to win. There's no doubt about it. They've got to win. And the more that they open out, that's when we come into our own, because then we will go at them. And I think as Newcastle fans, you know, I'm not saying this is what I want, but you know, if it's 0-0 in say the 70th minute and we go for it and we end up losing 1-0, I don't think anyone's going to be upset with Eddie Howe for that. But if we score, Liverpool need two. They need to, and then if I can imagine us scoring and then just going, right, sit back, let's just defend this now and frustrate them. Because then that title will be waving away to them if we manage to get something from them.
So it's really exciting, lads. I mean, every game. I mean, when you think about it, I don't think I've seen a season where the last 4 games, as far as us are concerned, means so much to every other team. Arsenal, top 4, and then Burnley. I mean, honestly, Chris, I'll be like over the moon if it's Burnley Everton the last day of the season, just sitting back and watching how it plays out. And to be honest, I'm like you, Pete. I want we to win. To be honest, I knew I've said through the game, put under 12s on, things like that. And, you know, really, I'll be changing my mind, Chris, every time if it does. But this weekend,
it's a hard one, isn't it?
Yeah. Chris, this weekend will determine it. I think honestly whether it goes to the way or not, because Burnley play Watford. If they win before Everton play Chelsea, honestly, Chris, I think that the fans will be a nervous wreck, as you well know. The Everton lads will be a nervous wreck. 5 points behind, and you know, like you're playing Chelsea at home. I know the Everton fans will get behind that team, but it's going to be nerve-wracking for them. It really, really will be. And I think the thing I worry about Everton the most, Chris, is who's going to score the goals. They just do not seem to have a threat up front.
Yeah, this is the problem,
really,
isn't it?
And I mean, Richarlison, he rolls over more than the National Lottery. He does. He rolls over more than the National Lottery. I mean, honestly, Mad Mark, one of the lads said, would you have him? No, I wouldn't. I'm sorry. I wouldn't have Richarlison, Chris, to be fair. I would have Anthony Gordon, mind.
Yeah. It's an interesting one with Richarlison because I think the talent's there, and you could probably train, you know, the whole dive and roll, and you could probably train that out of him. But the biggest thing for me that puts me off is the attitude.
Yes.
That's what worries me.
Yeah.
I don't think we need that. And plus, Alan, as we've already said, you know, we should be looking at players who are going to take forward, players who haven't quite hit that height, and we'll get them at a reasonable price and reasonable wages. I think you're going to have to pay upwards of 70 million for Richarlison, and he'll be on a good wage. And I don't think he's worth 70 million, if I'm honest. But I think that's what Everton will want for him, because they paid 50 for him. So,
does he ever smile, Chris? Does he ever smile? I've never seen him smile once.
Yeah, he's not. He's not a big smiler. Although I do want to do love as well. Have you seen the tattoo on his neck?
I haven't actually, Chris. He's
got a tattoo down his neck there, and it says he's Brazilian, which is like the song that Everton fans sing about him. So I think he's really integrated himself into the club, and he does give us all. You know, when I say he gives us all, he's not a shaker. He will put a shift in. But it's just sometimes I think he loses it mentally, and then he just loses his head. And then
easy been sent off, Chris, couldn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
2 minutes to go with Jordan Henderson could have quite easily been sent off, and a lot of games the referee would have probably sent him off for that.
But that would have cost him. That would have cost him.
And he would have been banned for 3 games.
Yeah, and what's that? What good's that?
Yeah, definitely.
Right, absolutely right.
Yeah, it's going to go at the wire, Chris. I mean, I do see. I mean, say if Burnley get beat off Watford, and you know Everton get a draw even off Chelsea or win, then I do fancy Everton then, because Brentford and Crystal Palace are to them. I think they've got a great chance of getting points there. But if they're 5 points behind, Oh no, Chris, I cannot see
It's
them.
a big ask, isn't it? It's a big
I
ask.
think they're
And
going to
then
have.
Everton would have to get 6 points to catch up, and
Yeah.
Burnley would have to not pick any points up in those over 2 games. It's a big ask.
Massive
5 points is a big gap. It's a big gap.
5-6 points to go, but
Yeah. I agree.
But lads, if we never win another game this season, and I hope not. I hope we get points off Arsenal and all the teams. But I can say it, I'll be delighted if we reach the 50 points. I think, I think the only thing I want to get over 45, because people outside the area, Pete and Chris, the reason being is, obviously, what I'm going to say about Bruce, is people outside the area go, well, Eddie Howe didn't get as many points as Steve Bruce. So what is shouting and bawling how well Eddie Howe's doing? They don't understand what mess he was left, the shambles he was left, and that's my worry, Pete, Chris. That the snipers, the pundits on Sky Sports will go turn around at the start of next season. Newcastle got say 46 points. We end up with 46. Well, Eddie Howe was in charge. He only got 1 more point than Steve Bruce, and he had 90-odd million to spend. And
you need someone, and hopefully, Alan, you need someone who's got half a brain cell, or someone who knows about the club and goes, well, hang on a minute, the point you're making is relevant, but Newcastle didn't get their first win till December, and Eddie Howe spent 90 million in the summer. He didn't play. He was out. He didn't play. You need someone to be pushing that that
narrative.
Yeah. You need a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of a bit of nous, and in some cases you just don't get that.
That's what Newcastle United don't have in the media. Is that we've got the likes of Jermaine Jennings, who was an ex-player on BT Sport. We've got the likes of Kieran Dyer that they tend to bring on quite a lot for Newcastle. And he is talking a little bit more positive about Newcastle. And we've obviously got Alan Shearer, but he's on BBC, and it's very isolated BBC because they don't cover Premier League football in the way that Sky and BT do. But what we don't have is that prominent figure. So with Gary Neville can push the narrative on Man United. He can tell them when they're playing crap. He can also try and fight the corner when he thinks they're doing okay. Jamie Carragher is exactly the same. We talked about it earlier on the show, Chris, about Liverpool and Everton. Because he's an Everton fan, he can push the narrative that he thinks that Everton are a bigger club than Newcastle because he's got that narrative, he's got that inside knowledge, he's got he's got the stage in which to talk about Newcastle United in a negative light if he wants to. But he's certainly got the stage to talk about Liverpool in a big light and Everton in a bigger light to make them seem a bigger club than any other that's in and around them. We haven't got that
to as well, Pete. He's got to. He's got to. He's from the area. He supports Everton, like you rightly said. He can't say Newcastle a bigger club than Everton. He can't do that. And I'm not saying Everton aren't a big club. I do think Everton are a big club. But when people say, "Oh, Everton are a far bigger club than Newcastle," based on what? Based on the fact that they've had success, in previous years, and no one's denying them that. But the thing that always gets me, and the thing that really winds me up, or rubs me up the wrong way, it's the way people are so dismissive. Like, I'm not saying Aston Villa aren't a big club. I'm not saying Nottingham Forest aren't a big club. I'm not saying Leeds aren't a big club. I'm not saying Everton aren't a big club. But it's the way that it's kind of like laughed at, as in bigger than Newcastle. And it's like, well, you can't just dismiss it like that. If they said, oh, that's an interesting one. Oh, I don't know. And, they were arguing either way. You could kind of go, all right, well, that's your opinion. That's fine. But it's the way it's so dismissive, as if like we're deluded or, what gives you that impression? And we're like, well, hang on, should we have a look at the stats and we'll pull it up and we'll talk about why? I mean, when was the last time Everton were on the verge of winning the Premier League? When was the last time Everton had a Champions League run? When was the last time, they've been to 2 FA Cup finals? It's all these little bits. And you think, well, it's the whole dismissive thing. It's the whole putting down. It's not the fact that we're saying we're far better than you, but it's the fact that we're not in the conversation. And you're like, hang on, why? Why aren't we in the conversation? Because we deserve to be in the conversation. And that's why we end up coming back and going, no, we're bigger than you. It doesn't have to be, but you know what I'm saying.
I get so angry. It's almost like when people talk about Newcastle in their pomp, they talk about the entertainers, and rightly so. The mid-90s were fantastic. We were producing unbelievable football. We were challenging for the title. But it's almost as if they discard and forget about the fact that actually, when Sir Bobby Robson took over, I think it was like back end of '99, when he took over and what he created, when he brought in Craig Bellamy, Laurent Robert, when he brought in the likes of, Jermaine Genius and Oliver Bernard out of nowhere and made him a player. And he got Champions League football with Andy O'Brien and Titus Bramble as our centre-back pairing.
Andy Griffin.
Andy Griffin at right back.
No offence to Andy Griffin, but
playing Champions League football and scoring goals, playing Champions League football.
Against Juventus.
Yeah, against Juventus. It's almost like for that between 2000 and 2005, it's almost like the Premier League have forgotten that Newcastle existed during that period. That actually we didn't just finish 5th, we finished 4th a couple of times. We finished 3rd in the league as well, and we were. And this is the point that I make, is that actually before Tottenham became part of the top 6, we were the top 6. We were there. We were the top 6 before top 6 was even a thing.
Yeah.
And we were there. We were challenging. Laurent Robert was wrapping in free kicks and destroying Tottenham. I was there at the game where he scored two absolute raspers to demolish Tottenham at St James's Park. Tottenham weren't even a second thought. We were turning up, dismantling the likes of Tottenham Hotspur like they were nothing. Right, and we were doing that to them. Yes, they've done that to us in recent years, but we did that to them for many a year before that. We were playing European football. We played in the Champions League more than once, not just in the qualifying stages like Everton. We were actually getting beyond that and getting into the group stages. We played in Europe. I was there away at Marseille in the semi-final second leg when Didier Drogba unfortunately tore us a new one. We were there at the semi-final of the UEFA Cup and pushing ourselves as being one of the top elites to win major trophies in Europe. We were doing all of that. And it's almost like the likes of Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville and lots of other people within the media, Danny Murphy's, Danny Mills, all the rest of it. It's like they forget that was Newcastle United in the early 2000s. What, less than 25 years ago, we were producing
beating the likes of Man United 5-0, breaking the world transfer fee, challenging, being what was it, 12 points clear and losing the title. When was the last time Villa were 12 points clear, or Everton, or Leeds, or Forest? They're just names that I'm just bringing up, but to just totally dismiss us and go, oh, they're not a big club. They're Everton are far bigger than them. Based on what?
And Chris. Pete, sorry for interrupting. Chris, when I was a boy, Chris, please, I went to I didn't go to the cup final in '74. My father did. Couldn't get a ticket. Liverpool had 11 trophies, major trophies. So did we. Look at what's happened in the last 55 years. Liverpool, out of sight, they've won 50-odd trophies in that time, and we've won none. That shows you that what good owners can do in 55 years. We won exactly the same amount of major trophies in Liverpool in '74 when I was a boy. And we've highlighted the entertaining years, but it just shows you how much they hadn't won a European trophy then, Pete, when I was a boy. And it's under Keegan, they won their first one in '77. And it shows you, if you get the right owners and the people together, we can be at the elite level. And make no mistake, we can be in the top 4 or 6, lads. I really do believe that. With the right ownership and the right recruitment. And like you both of you have said, Pete, Chris, other clubs like Aston Villa, Everton, Leeds have had fantastic histories in themselves. Nobody's denying it. But like I say, Chris, unfortunately, after the Everton defeat, the amount of absolute hatred I had after that game, that's why I want Everton down, to be honest with you. But to be fair, if it came to it, I want to beat Burnley. And if it came to it, that it helped Everton to stay up, so be it. That's how I look at it. But I never dismiss. I don't go down the I hate this club, I hate that club, apart from Sunderland, of course. But I don't go down that route of I hate this club, I hate that club. But they do dismiss us. And unfortunately, I'm black and white through and through. And I'll always say that was one of the biggest clubs in England, which has been mismanaged for so long, lads. That's the thing here. So long we've been mismanaged. Apart from, I would say 9 years under Hall and Shepherd, we've had very terrible owners, like most clubs have. And look at what Man United and Tottenham even and Arsenal fans are all complaining about their owners.
But don't you think it's mad, Alan, how, you know, like the likes of Man United, and this goes back to what Pete was saying about peddling your own, you know, peddling your own opinion. Gary Neville's on there every other week, and rightly so. I'm not saying the Glazers are good owners, but Gary Neville's on there every week. It's disgraceful. They need to get out the club. They're ruining the club. They're draining the club. They're sucking money out the club. But when Mike Ashley was here, we were getting told that we should be grateful. We were getting told that we should be thankful that he's keeping us afloat. What's Newcastle's problem? What do they expect? Mike Ashley wants to sell the club. No, let him be. But as soon as Man United do what they're doing, it's like, oh, it's an absolute disgrace, and the Glazers, they're ruining football. They need to get out the club and blah blah. But it's fine for little old Newcastle. But now that we've got our fairy tale, now that we've got our new ownership, you've noticed, and Pete said it earlier on, everyone's been a lot more quiet now. No one wants to talk about Newcastle now, and people are starting to talk about other things. You know, the fact, they've spent all that money, and they've got they spent 90 million in the January transfer window. That's why they are where they are. And look at the stupid pictures they're taking all the time, and let's talk about human rights, and let's talk about this, let's talk about that.
Blood money and all that. And it's honestly, sorry, Chris, for butting in. I just have to say this about Man United. They're better than anybody, and yet 3 years ago there was a survey done, and they wanted the Saudi ownership. There was a survey of 9,000 people. 85% wanted Bin Laden to take over. Now it's like, oh, it's blood money. It's blood money. You're just great at the hypocrisy of it all. You know, if I had Saudi ownership now, I wouldn't support them. I'd walk away. I'm sorry. If I go
they wouldn't. They wouldn't.
I'd be here all night. I'm sorry, I'm not. But what I would say is, there's not one of the 19 other clubs wouldn't want Saudi ownership now. I'm telling you that now.
They all was. Every single one of them.
Every single one.
They'd all be doing that. They'd all be doing that with the Saudi ownership. With PIF, with the ownership that we've got right now, they'd be all doing this. You'd see YouTube shows from all the guys, whether it was Arsenal, whether it was Expressions at Tottenham, whether it was Don Robbie at Arsenal, whether it be United View, whether it be anyone at Man City,
Man United,
anyway, Man United, whether it be Liverpool. And let's not forget, Liverpool would want big owners more than anybody, because Liverpool they're actually punching above their weight. Liverpool, financially wise, they're the worst of the lot. Because why Liverpool are kind of they're accepting, because they understand. Liverpool have probably got the best relationship with Newcastle out of all of those top teams, and they understand. They understand where we've been and where we've come from. They've had bad owners too, and had to protest to kind of force them out. Man United, you're absolutely right, Alan, and Chris, you talked about it as well. Man United are bitter because they wanted PIF. They wanted PIF for a long time, and they're scared. Yeah, Gary Neville's scared.
Yeah,
but don't forget, Pete, and just a little caveat to that. You're absolutely spot on what you say. Only small caveat to that is, if we were to get a result the weekend, I bet you'll find that opinion changes. Second of all, I think it's because at the moment, and I'm sure you'll all agree with this, even people at home watching, Man City and Liverpool are in a different league. Man City and Liverpool are in it
right now.
Yeah. We're fighting, for the, and I'm not suggesting this yet, but we're fighting for the top four. We're a part of the 18 other teams, and we're starting to make our way up. But we're a way off Man City, and we're a way off Liverpool. But are we a big way off Arsenal, Tottenham, Man United? No, we're not. And Chelsea are probably the best of that bunch, that 18 bunch. But as we all saw the other week, we give them a bloody good game. and we got beaten by one tiny mistake from Dan Burn and a fantastic finish from Kai Havertz. But it just goes to show 2 or 3 more players next season.
What's going to happen with that takeover, Chris? What's going to happen with it? Because at the end of the day, the players are uncertain. Are they going to be there? There's going to be players out of contract. Right, Rudeniger, if I'm pronouncing it right, he's away. He's away. Obviously, he probably won't come to us. But, there's be a lot of Chelsea players unsettled at their club.
He's gone, Rudiger. Yeah. Tuchel suggests he's gone. That's a huge loss. That's a huge loss.
So Chelsea are in turmoil. They will be in turmoil until the takeover is sorted out. I'm not suggesting they won't get rich owners, which they probably will. But will they actually put the money in that Abramovich has put in over the years?
I don't think they'll bankroll it like Abramovich did.
This is why Chelsea are scared, boys. Yeah. This is why Chelsea are scared. Is because this is the key point that a lot of people in the media have been talking about for a long time, and this is why. Mitch, who's actually going to be joining us on Loaded on Wednesday, we're going to be maybe talking about this in a little bit more detail. But Mitch has been banging the drum about this Chelsea takeover on the Three Amigos for a long time now, and that this deal is not set in stone. It's not a straightforward deal. If it was, it'd already been done by now. Chelsea have had an owner that has put so many millions into the club and taken a huge loss on the club, and it's not bothered him in the slightest. He just put money into the club, put money into the club. That club's been making a loss for years. You know what? I'll put more money into the club, No other club in the Premier League has done that, really, effectively. It's just put so much money into the club and made so many losses over the course of a 20-year period, like Chelsea have. The difference is, now Abramovich is gone, no owner that comes into the club can do what Abramovich has done. So the Chelsea that we've known and we've been accustomed to for the last 20 years, no longer the same. They won't be able to go out and splash the cash the way they've been able to do, so lavishly and so kind of like casually, without second thought, and think that it's okay. Spending huge money on academy players to bring them in to then loan them for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years and then sell them off for profit. Not going to be able to do that now because they haven't got the money to do it. And if anybody's going to be affected by that, with this, the changes with the government, Chelsea are going to be affected by it massively. Because all of a sudden FIFA Fair Play might start coming into it, because they very rarely made a profit. Chelsea, they very rarely made a profit, and the more money they try and spend to get and try and reach the likes of Man City and Liverpool, the more they're going to put themselves in a position with FIFA Fair Play, and they're in a really, really difficult position. All it takes for Chelsea, they'll get Champions League this year, but all it takes is for them to not get it. And we know in years gone by that Chelsea can have a great season and challenge for the title, but they can have a dreadful season and finish 5th, 6th, 7th in the league. Just like Man United, just like Tottenham, just like Arsenal. They can have great seasons, but they can have awful seasons as well. Who can expose that and take advantage of that?
Exactly. Pete, Chris, spot on. I mean, another side show, lads. I mean, I know I'm going on about the takeover as such and the side bits, but there was no complaint about Saudi money going to Man United sponsorship for 10, 12, 14 years. Michael Delaney didn't shout and bawl about that. It was total silence on that. And they gave millions of pounds to Man United, and still do, as far as I'm led to believe, still do, to Man United. So, going down the route of, which obviously hurts me in the sense of, well, not hurts us, but it gets us annoyed when people bring the politics side of it into play. And we can obviously go down that route all night, lads. But honestly, I'm over the moon at what owners so far. They've done brilliantly. The club's heading in the right direction. And I'll let you go, lads. I know you have got, I could rabbit on all night, lads. I'm sorry. But it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling being in this situation. And I just hope for everybody in the chat, if we do get battered off Liverpool and Man City, take it on the chin, because these two teams now are probably two of the best teams I've ever seen in my life. compact teams as far as playing wise, and the points totals that they're both racked up is just unbelievable. So don't be disheartened if we do get batter of both of them. But as long as the team give 100%, I'll let you go, lads. I'll let you go.
Alan, absolute legend, absolute pleasure. Really, really glad you came and joined us for the show tonight. Some fantastic points. Like you said, we could have carried on talking about that for another half an hour. But look, make sure you come back again on Monday, and we'll talk a little bit more about where we are as a club after the Liverpool game. That's for sure. But until then, you take care, Alan. And
we'll do. I'll keep running.
Keep running, keep doing it, mate.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Cheers.
Take care, Alan. All the best,
Cheers
mate.
now. Thank you.
Great stuff. You know, a fantastic talking point from Alan. Some great points about the situation, you know, with Everton, with Chelsea. We could have talked about that forever. Like it's not even really effectively. It's not really Newcastle related, but it is in the same sense in that, you know, Chelsea and Everton are going through moments that we as Newcastle are probably, you know, we've got smart owners. We're looking at that situation. We're thinking, well, we don't want to be like Everton. We don't want to be like Chelsea, and we don't want to be like Man United or Burnley. So, like, it's almost like we're seeing these real difficult situations happen at other clubs, and it's almost like our ownership are looking at that and going, okay, that's not how to run a club. That's not how we want to run a club. That's not what we want to do. And it's almost like it's enhancing our ability to run our club even better because we're seeing really bad examples of how clubs have been run. Everton has spent $500 million. Everton has spent $500 million and are now in the bottom three on the back of that. I've talked about for the last year and a bit and said, once we get that takeover with PIF, we'll never have to worry about relegation again, certainly for a long amount of years period of time. And, you know, does it worry me? No, because our owners are they actually care about our club, and they're smart, intelligent owners. They've not just splashed the cash anywhere else. And this comes to another point just before we go on to the questions. We've got a lot. Is that there's been a lot of talk over the weeks now, maybe even the months. Take care, Rachel. There's been a lot of talk over the weeks and months about Newcastle United spending in the summer. I want to get your thoughts on this, Chris, because there's been this like obsession with how much money we're going to spend, and you know, is it like the question I want to ask you is that, you know, is the amount of money that's been bandied about important in terms of the progress of the club?
So you're asking it. So what you're saying, Pete, is do you think like the amount that what we spend next season will determine whether we're successful or how successful we'll be? Is what you mean?
Yeah, pretty much. So we've been told by a number of journalists and people in the media that, you know, it's not going to be this lavish spending of 150, 200 million £1 that we're going to spend in the summer, but it might be more like maybe an 80, 90 million, the same as what we did in January again. But what I'm saying is that, you know, for, you know, from our point of view, is it essential that we spend 150, 200 million? Is that going to ensure that we make the progress that we want to make, or is it going to be kind of a different, you know, effectively, do we need to spend that much in order to make progress in the league the way we want to next season?
I don't believe so, no. I think for me, it's about bringing in the right people in the right positions. And I know that sounds a bit cliche, but I truly believe that's what it is. I mean, we've seen football change a lot over the past couple of years, and it's going to change even more, you know, due to the pandemic and stuff. And we find ourselves in an incredibly strong position. But, you know, even the likes of who we were talking about earlier, the likes of Antonio Rudiger being available on a free, and that list of frees is absolutely huge. And, you know, we've spoken about in the past as well, the likes of James Tarkowski. Him coming in improves our defence. Will James Tarkowski, if we sign him, will he still be in 3 years' time? Probably not. but it's all about going on a journey and improving the squad as a whole as we build, as we go. If the owners decide that he's the right personality and he's the right person to take the club forward for the foreseeable, that's great. And I think for me, the media which they do quite often, spinning words or making things that aren't there. One big thing for me is they've gone on, haven't they, since the start? Oh, Newcastle aren't going to sign Neymar. The fans need to lower their expectations. Newcastle aren't going to be in for Haaland. Newcastle aren't going to be in for Mbappe. For me, Pete, in my opinion, this is how I see it. The money's there. And if an opportunity becomes available, if a player becomes available who takes us to that next level, or who is someone who maybe we weren't planning to go for another 2 or 3 seasons, and not in terms of the player, but in terms of the caliber, if that player becomes available, we make that move. I think we get that deal done. I don't think we're going to go out there. We spoke about this the other night. I know I keep saying that, but we did. We spoke about this the other night, and we were saying, I don't think we're going to go out. I think it was you actually that said it. We're not going to go out and bring in established top players. I just don't see that happening. We're 3 or 4 years away from that. Like the likes of Liverpool in the summer. Tottenham came in for Luis Diaz. Liverpool just came in and went, no, we'll have him. Those kind of deals will happen in the future, but they can't now. We haven't got the facilities. We haven't got the squad, and we haven't got the temptation of Europe and stuff like that. We're just not in that place at the moment. Obviously, we've got the money, but that's the key, isn't it? That's just what we haven't got. But there's so many prospects out there, Pete, and it's sad because, and I know we'll probably touch on them later. It's sad because the likes of Darwin Núñez, I feel like he's probably going to be one step too far this summer, given what he's done over the past few months. I think what he's done, especially in the Champions League, I think that has alerted other clubs. And as soon as other clubs come in, I think he will look at those clubs. The Bruno Guimarães deal is a prime example of that. Arsenal were interested in him. We came in, swooped, got the deal done. If the other clubs had been aware that he was available, we might not have got him. But that was down to the owners being a bit canny or a bit cute. They've highlighted. It's like Kevin Trippier. If Atletico Madrid had come out and went, "Oh, Kevin Trippier's unhappy, he wants to come back to the Premier League," 4, 5, 6 clubs would have been in for him, and he probably would have joined. I'm not saying he definitely would have, but he probably would have joined a top 6, top 5, top 4 club. Yeah. But we went in and we swooped and we went in and we got him, and we got the deal done early. So I think we're gonna, to answer your question, I think we're gonna. I wouldn't like to put a figure on it, but I do believe we could spend between 120, 150 million. I don't see why we wouldn't. But if the right player becomes available, if the right players aren't available, we could spend 50 million. Who knows? But we could sign a couple of free signings who Eddie Howe thinks, these are going to take us forward. And I know it's hard for Newcastle fans to accept, but if we do only spend 40, 50, 60 million in the summer, but we bring in 2 or 3 quality additions, or 3 or 4, 5 or 6 quality additions, and we get a couple of fees, you've got to trust the owners, and you've got to trust the plan. They know what they're doing, and everything takes time. You can't just go out and go, "Oh yeah, Haaland, see if he's interested in a move to Newcastle," because it's just not going to happen like that. And plus, you wouldn't want to break. We've talked about breaking wage structures. We've talked about upsetting the balance of the team. It's looking, like you said, Pete, the other day, it's looking for those players who are on the cusp of something great or could be great. They're the kinds of players we need to go for. Like your Bruno Guimarães. People had heard of him, but not everybody had heard of him. But we've paid a pretty penny for him, and he's come in and done a fantastic job. We could have gone out and we could have signed, like a Bruno Fernandes. That's just one that's come to my head. But he's going to cost double that, and his wages are going to be triple what he's on. That's not the way forward. That's not how we do business, I don't think.
And I agree with you. Like, I've maintained it for a while, and you just alluded to it. The Mbappes, the Neymars, the Erling Haalands, the Pogbas, those top level players. I don't want them. And it sounds really so weird me saying that, but I don't want them because that is not the blueprint of our club. Okay, you look at what we want to build. We want to bring in a Bruno Guimarães that wasn't considered an elite. He wasn't considered any better than Paul Pogba. He was probably considered worse than Paul Pogba and many other players at that level. But what you're bringing in a young quality player that's hungry to prove himself in the Premier League, that's hungry at 24 years old to be a better player than what he is currently. And he's doing that right now. And what you want is not ultimately the finished article. I'm not saying Pogba is the finished article, but a number of those Mbappe, Haalands that are considered the finished article. You don't want to bring those players in. You want to be able to spend considerably less and bring a player in that can then become the finished article.
Who's hungry and wants it.
I refer back to Man City, okay? The likes of David Silva, the likes of Kompany, the likes of Yaya Toure, the likes
players.
of Sergio Aguero, the likes of Edin Dzeko, the likes of Alvaro Negredo. All those players were brought in that weren't elite established players, but they brought them in order to make them better. You know, Adebayor, Craig Bellamy, Gail Clichy. You look at Man City players that they built, Shea Given, that weren't the finished articles in terms of the players, but what they did, they brought them in and made the club better. Even if it was for 1 or 2 years, then moved them on. The likes of Shea Given, Craig Bellamy had a decent few years, then moved them on. Like, whereas Kompany stayed throughout. They improved with Yaya Toure. They improved. They got rid of Adebayor. Who did they bring in? Edin Dzeko. They brought in Sergio Aguero. And they built from there. And they established their team on the back of that. And they continue to build. That is what this Newcastle United team is going to do. They're not going to go out and buy the big player at that point in time. It's what the media want. The media want that as a talking point. They want to build those players that are going to create those moments. And it goes back to the point, and Jano's just talked about it. Yet Tarkowski may not be the first choice 11, but it'll be a backup option. But I tell you what, Tarkowski will be a hell of a backup option compared to Clark, compared to Lascelles. He already jumps ahead of the queue, ahead of those two, and puts himself in the shop window, and actually might even, being in a team that's competitive and pushing at the other end of the table, might even push Fabian Shaw. We don't know.
Well, this is what you were talking about before, Pete. You know, when you were saying about players being in the team, you know, like cup players who are on the fringe and want an opportunity. He would tick that box. He'd be someone who you feel comfortable putting in a cup game and going. Imagine him and Dan Burn in the centre of defence. It's not bad, is it? If you've got Fabian Schär and you've got Sven Botman as the first choice, if you had Dan Burn and Tarkowski as the understudies, wouldn't be bad. It really wouldn't.
Yeah, I agree with you, and it goes back to your point, and you were saying, you know, about, you know, we don't need to spend reams and reams of money. There are players out there that are not expensive. So I'll name a few. I'm not saying we're going to sign these players.
Just throwing players out.
I'm just throwing players out there.
Yeah.
So you've got Tarkowski, as Janos mentioned, on a free. Divock Origi on a free. You got Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain not playing, wasn't even in the 25, or not even in the squad for the Everton game.
Mm-hmm.
Could improve our midfield at a low price. You know, you've got a number of players out there that you could go out and sign. I've just named 3. Okay, there are others that would cost a similar amount of money, or maybe less, or maybe even free, that you could consider improving your team. And there are other players out there of the same ilk that we could pick up for a small fee that would improve this team and make this team better. So then you could maybe go and spend a lavish amount of money on a striker or a midfielder or Paqueta, and be in a position where you've not spent a massive amount of money, but you've seriously improved the team that could take you on to the next level. You know, Target, top man Paul, we'll be in touch. We'll speak to you soon. Plenty from a loaded point of view that's going to be going on in the next few weeks. But we've got, you know, you've got so many players there that you could work with, and I'm just talking of a few that we could work with in order to improve our team. Jesse Lingard, free. I think he's probably going to West Ham, but I think we'll be in with him, and I think we'll at least take a look at Jesse Lingard and give him. I think we'll at least give him an offer. I think we'll give him an offer.
Well, who's to say now Jesse Lingard's agreed to join West Ham verbally, but
Yeah.
who's to say, he didn't get his move in January that he wanted. I'm not saying the club still want him, maybe they don't, but who's to say, he's not looking at this league table and going, Jesus Christ, they were in deep shit in December, and now look where they are in April. And imagine a full season under where they are next season with a couple of extra signings. Do I want to get on board with that? Absolutely.
And he's looking at the fans as well. He's looking at the fans. He's looking at the stadium. He's looking at the flags. He's looking at the atmosphere. And he's thinking, okay, do I want to play at West Ham where you can't even hear the fans chant?
Yeah, we hate the owners.
There?
A few bad results and West Ham turn against the owners. And I'm not knocking them for that, by the way. I'm just stating a fact. That's what they do. They don't like the owners. And only for the fact that West Ham are on an extremely good run at the moment. Have West Ham got money to spend in the summer, Pete? I don't think they've got masses of amounts of money, have they?
No. Because, and it goes back to the point that you've just made. Jesse Lingard has seen those photos with the Newcastle players. Jesse Lingard's the kind of player that would want to be in those photos.
Oh, he'd love it, wouldn't he? All the media and Alan St. Maximin. And
he'd want to be a part of that. There is no doubt about it. He'd want to be a part of that. He sees the players that we're linked with, the likes of Paqueta and one or two others that we've been linked with. Sven Botman's looking at those photos thinking, I want to be a part of that. He might be forced into moving to AC Milan. He might be forced into that move. And forced into a move that will be playing Champions League football. Great. But that's for a season or two. Newcastle United are projected to be there for a long period of time. Once they get there, they're going to be a team that's not just going to make the numbers up. Once we get there, these owners are ambitious to want to go win the thing. They want to be winning.
And then, Pete, we're going to be bringing in 2, maybe 3 players per window, if that, and they're going to be top players. They're going to be going out to Eddie Howe or whoever it may be. Hopefully, it is still Eddie Howe, but they're going to be going. We need a new striker. We need a 25-30 goal a season striker. Go and get him. Go and get him. We're in the Champions League. Time to be elite level. And this is when the other clubs and bigger players start looking and going, look where they were 2 years ago. Look where they are now. I want to go and win stuff. I'm going to join Newcastle.
Yeah.
And we blow everyone else out the water.
Exactly. And it's that situation that you look at. And I'm thinking, it does, and that's what makes me think. You think of a few players on a free. Not saying we're going to sign in the players that I've mentioned, but it gives you an example that actually you could go through a summer window by signing quality players and not having to spend massive amounts of money.
No.
We talked about on 3 occasions on this show about Dean Smith having a net spend of £200 million over a 3-year period. That Alan quite rightly said on the show. That's what his spending power was. Like, do we really want to be in that position where we're doing that, or do we want our owners and Eddie Howe to be smarter than that? I know what I would want. I know what you would want, Chris. You'd want a smart approach to this window because everyone is in a position where they can get involved in that. The windows in the last 2 or 3 years have been quite favourable to us, and we've not been able to exploit them because we've not had the owners. We've got the owners now to exploit this window to bring the right players in at the right price without spending crazy amounts of money. But don't be fooled. We're going to be looking at the Dutch market. We're going to be looking at the Belgian market. We're going to be looking at the French market again. We're going to be looking at the Italian market, looking at teams that have got very, very good players that will be reasonable in their prices and being able to put players out of there. Don't just look at what the media are telling us right now. I tell you what, at this moment in time, the media are telling us one thing in terms of the players that we're linked with. You see it in the Chronicle. You see it in various other news outlets about these players that we're all linked with. But I tell you what, once the season finishes and we turn into June, July, the players that we're linked with now will be very different to the players that we're linked with then. The players will move on because we've got a huge network of players that we're looking at. And,
well, look at Bruno Guimarães. He come from nowhere. We were linked with all kinds of players. And Bruno Guimarães just come from there. And it was just get him a plane, get him over, done. It was done.
Mitch is right in what he says. Mitch has been spot on, and I love listening to Mitch because he talks football sense. I can listen to him all day long.
Yeah,
and the key thing for him, and he said it time and time again, is that Newcastle United's transfer situation is a very fluid one. Have we got the money? We've got the money to rock and roll whenever we need to. But it's about when the player comes available, and is it the right price for Newcastle United? Is it the right attitude? Have they got the right temperament to come into this squad and make this team better? If they have and they tick all the boxes, the deal will get
Money's
done.
there. Money's there.
The deal will get done instantly. And the agents, the clubs that we're dealing with, they know this. So they know that from January, we're not going to be taken to like mugs. We could have paid well over the top for Botman or Diego Carlos. We didn't get pushed into those type of deals. So they now know that we're not going to mess around. And we've got a huge pool that if the clubs and the agents play silly buggers with us, we'll go elsewhere and we'll sign a player elsewhere that will equally do as good a job. That's what the owners have done. And that's a big thing that they've done. They've not just settled. They've gone in other directions, and that's what we're doing well. And if we keep doing that into the summer, we'll get rid of this narrative that we're the richest club in the world and we'll just spend lavishly on whoever. I think we will eventually. If a player that we really like, we'll go and splash the money out. But we're knocking this narrative that we're just going to spend on whoever we want when we want, and that's a really key part.
No, it is. It absolutely is, Pete. And we got laughed at and mocked for our January transfer window, and they're going, "Oh, richest club in the world. Why have you signed him? Why have you signed him? Why have you signed him?" Well, now no one's laughing. No one's laughing, and I think now it's a case of, oh, well, the 90 million got them out of trouble. This is the same 90 million, by the way, at the end of January that we were getting laughed at for wasting, and now we've ended up on 43 points, and we're safe, and we're 9th in the league, and it's just so frustrating, isn't it? But these knockers, they know that, like, they've made a huge error, and they're now looking at Eddie Howe and thinking, bloody hell. And secretly, they won't say it, but secretly, and this is where all the upset's coming from, Pete, like you said earlier, they're all worried. Every single one of them are worried, and they're looking now and they're thinking, bloody hell, if Newcastle are doing this season, what are they going to do next season with like 3 or 4 Bruno Guimarães type signings? Blow up. Could blow up. The league is wide open. The likes of Tottenham, Arsenal, Chelsea, West Ham, Wolves, they're not that far ahead of us. They're really not.
I agree. Definitely.
Second in the form league in 2022. Second in it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It just means that we've got so much to look forward to. It really does. It does. And we've got a manager that's level-headed, smart, intelligent. He knows what he wants. He knows he's got the firepower and the money to be able to get the players that he wants. Bournemouth, it probably wasn't the same situation. And he's grown and evolved as a manager. So he's in a different mindset, in a different place now than what he was as Bournemouth manager. And that is for sure.
Got some fantastic feedback there from Andrew DB. Chris, you do the show much better and great points when you're not laid in bed. Just saying. Do you know what, Andrew? I take your point. It's probably because I feel a bit more... I'm sat at a desk in a hotel room at the moment, so it's probably because I'm a bit more awake than normal. So yeah, that's probably it, and it's probably because my wife's not sitting next to me, waiting for me to get off the show. So that's probably got something to do with it as well. But no, thanks, mate. Really appreciate that.
Quality.
So Pete, we better get to these questions, haven't we?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, we'll get to these questions. We're going to be no more than 25 minutes.
We'll have to whiz through them.
So we'll whiz through these questions. Thank you for everyone that's whizzed through the questions and put them out there. It's been absolutely fantastic. And we'll try and get through as many as we possibly can. Yeah, absolutely. Some of them will just require a quick answer, Pete. We can both kind of touch on that. It just depends, really, doesn't it? Because some of the questions we get asked are really, really good, and we do go into a bit more detail on them. Sorry, I'm talking as I'm trying to scroll up. I've literally scrolled up like 7 times, and there's more comments and more comments. I'm nearly at the top now. I think I'm there. Great. Okay, I am at the top. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. Tom Dixon says, Liverpool up next. Hopefully they will get a few injuries in their midweek Champions League tie. Well, Tom, it's an interesting one, and this is the problem that Liverpool are going to have. I mean,
again, we spoke about this a while ago, Pete, to do with the fixture list that Liverpool have in April. It is really bad, really, really bad. They've done fantastically well, but something's got to give. I mean, again, what are we? We're the early kickoff on Saturday. Liverpool off the back of playing on Wednesday night. And is it at Anfield on Wednesday, or is it in Villarreal?
Good question.
I think it might be away, and that's why Klopp's kicking off. I think it might be away, first leg, which will be even worse for them, by the way. No, it's at Anfield. What's he moaning at Anfield? What's he moaning for? What is he moaning for? He wanted a later kick-off, didn't he?
Yeah.
But the league have said no, which is good. But yeah, Tom, really good point. It'll be interesting to see the lineup that they put out against Villarreal on Wednesday, because they're going to have to make a mark if they've got the first game at home. They want to win that comfortably so that they don't worry too much when they go away. Bill Burnett says, I thought Miklos was a bit miserable yesterday. Pete, have you seen the Miklos show?
No, we talked about it earlier, and Bill, you're not the only one to mention it. Someone else mentioned it. I think Alan said he disagreed with it with a couple of his points when he watched the show as well. I didn't watch the show, but yeah, I do think that at times Miklo can be quite negative with some of his comments, and a number of comments I don't necessarily agree with when I listen to Miklos, and that's just my opinion. With regards to things, obviously we talked about on the show earlier on about the pictures. He disagreed with the pictures being shown up. I agree with the pictures. I think they're great. We've talked about that before. I know you agree as well, Chris. Alan agreed when he was on as well. And I don't know. I assume he makes some good points as well, but there's a lot of what Miklo says that I don't necessarily agree with. But each to their own. It is what it is. Yeah,
everyone's entitled to their own opinion, aren't they? Absolutely. So Lisa Mole says, I think Trippier will be on the bench. I'm assuming, Lisa, you mean on Saturday. Pete, do you agree with that? Do you think there's a chance Kieran Trippier could be on the bench, or do you think he may be given a little bit longer to recover? Obviously, we've seen him and Callum Wilson in the celebration photos. So do you think Kieran Trippier will be on the bench?
I think we'll get an indication Wednesday, Thursday. I think there'll be some pictures that come out from the website that will have like the Toon in training, the boys in training, and I think if we see Trippier with the boys at that point, I think he'll be a part.
At least the bench. Yeah, at least the bench.
Even if it's just with the squad, like he's with the squad, you don't see him in a picture like getting involved in tackles or being a part of the kind of match build up. I think if you see him in some form of training with the rest of the lads, that tells you that he's back where he needs to be. If you don't see him in anything like that, then I don't think they'll risk him. And it might be maybe more Man City, but a lot have been saying we're in this position right now where we don't need to kind of risk him at all. And there's talk about maybe him, and certainly Callum Wilson. It's looking like Callum Wilson might not be back this season, and he might be ready for pre-season. And it might be the case that they don't want to risk Kieran Trippier, but it'd be great to see him back before the end of the season. It'd be fantastic.
And do you know what, Pete? Just to interrupt you, because I want to ask you a little bit of an additional question to this. It's kind of the same question, but it's just being a bit more to the point. Given that it's Liverpool, given that Liverpool are so attacking, and it's going to be Mane probably on the left, if not Luis Diaz, depending on formation, or depending on the 11 that's picked. We all know that Kieran Trippier, if fully fit, so at the start of next season, everyone's fully fit. Kieran Trippier starting right back. We know that. But given Emil Kraft's upturn in form, given the fact that he's match fit, he's ready, and he's churning out really good performances, do you bring Kieran Trippier in? Or given that it's Liverpool, like I say, if this was, I'm trying to think of a game further on for Newcastle. If this was I don't know, I can't think off the top of my head who we've got, but say this is a Watford, or it's a I don't know, like a Wolves or a Palace or a mid-table team, you probably throw Kieran Trippier in there, and you want him to build his match fitness up. But given that it's Liverpool, does Eddie Howe take that risk and throw Kieran Trippier in? Because let's be honest, Pete, if Kieran Trippier comes back in, we all know his qualities. If he doesn't perform or he doesn't look fit, is everyone going to go, why don't you throw Emil Krafton?
When Trippier's back, he doesn't start. And that's not because he's not good enough to start. It's because any good manager would ease a player after that type of injury back into the team. So you bring him off the bench, you give him 10 minutes at the end of the game, then 15, then 20, then you maybe you give him 60 minutes, and you build him up that way to end the season. That's why I expect Newcastle to do with Kieran Trippier. I don't expect him to start games unless there are injuries. Unless there are a shed of injuries in which, yes, we might be forced into just playing him, but we don't need to. So I think it would be a case of an easing job, because Kieran Trippier will want to feel like he's part of the team, like he's part of what's happened this season, certainly the back end of this season. So him playing games to end the season, I think he'll want to be a part of. He'll want to be part of that clutch of players that go around and clap the fans at the last game of the season against Arsenal. But he'll want to do that with a Newcastle United strip on. He'll want to know that he's played minutes to kind of warrant that clapping of the fans going round. Callum Wilson will want to warrant that too. But I think with his injury, I think it's a little bit more delicate because it's a muscle injury. So they need to be more careful with that. So that's why I think he might probably not play. He might come back for the Burnley game and maybe come off the bench and play a few minutes that way, just to kind of ease him back into the team, and then he'll be ripe and ready for pre-season. But yeah, we don't need to start Kieran Trippier, in my opinion. I don't think we do. I think Kraft and Manquillo can deputise for Newcastle United, because we don't need necessarily to win matches because we're already safe in the Premier League. And equally, Kraft has been playing really well. So that's it for me.
I completely agree, mate. Just another big shout out to Vince Smith, who did a £5 super sticker earlier. Vince, really appreciate it, mate. Very, very generous of you, and thank you for that. Yano, this is a really interesting one. So Yano says, if Villa fail to beat Norwich, I see them getting dragged in because they've to play Burnley twice. Oh, please let it be. And it's a really interesting point from Yano, because I think, and I've been guilty of this certainly, but I look at Leeds, and I said it last week or the week before. I said, Leeds will be fine. But now that Everton have been recently, and Burnley are at the moment picking up points, the gap between Burnley and Leeds doesn't even look that big, does it? Give or take a couple of games, all of a sudden, Leeds, Villa, they could get dragged into it. I mean, history will tell you it's probably unlikely, because as soon as they get to 37, 38 points, they shouldn't be in any bother. But it's certainly doable. But do you agree with that, Pete? Or are you looking at the table now and still thinking it's a Burnley-Everton shootout?
Yeah, I think Villa have probably got 2 or 3 points too many at this stage. I think Villa have still got another win in them between now and the end of the season that will take them to the point in which they're safe. It's not a good running. It's not a good performance for Steven Gerrard if he ends the season where he does. And I think they'll still lose a few more games between now and the end of the season. But I think they've just done enough. So I do think it's a straight shootout between Burnley and Everton. I even think Leeds have got another point tonight, for example. So they're on 34. So they're kind of just clawing their way to safety right now. I think they're just doing.
That's how I felt. Yeah.
So for me, it's 100% a straight shootout. It's well, I say Everton and Burnley, but it's Burnley and Everton because Burnley are out of the bottom 3 right now. So Burnley and Everton, straight shootout for me for that place. And Watford for me are done, but they could put a spanner in the works by whether they lose to Burnley, but beat Everton equally, which is how I see maybe it going. So yeah.
I mean, Pete, I'm playing devil's advocate here. I'm just going to quickly look at the league table, but I'm just wondering what impact, only because I can't think off the top of my head, what impact it has if Everton beat Watford, if Watford beat Everton and Burnley. Put puts them on 28 points with 3 games to go. And Watford are at home for both games.
Yeah. Watford at home.
Imagine Watford win both those. I mean, again, it's highly unlikely. But if Watford win both them games, it puts them on 28, a point behind Everton and 3 points behind Burnley. That would be some miracle if them two. Imagine Watford get out of it and Everton Burnley drop. Imagine that.
That would be unbelievable.
Mate, Watford's a due a run though. Watford haven't had a run really under Roy Hodgson. I mean, they beat Man United. Everyone's beat Man United this season, haven't they? They beat Man United. Was it 5-2, where they just absolutely teared Man United apart? And I think they may have won one, maybe another one after that. And then they've been on this horrendous run, Watford. So you'd think, that the Roy Hodgson's going to be saying to the Watford players, if you want to get out of this, what we were saying earlier, if you want to get out of this, you can get out of it, but you've got to do it. We're just assuming Watford are going to roll over and let them both win.
Yeah.
What if they don't? What if they don't?
Yeah, great point. Yeah, it's a great point.
Interesting.
Something to keep an eye on. It's going to be interesting. Really interesting.
Funny if Burnley and Everton went down. That'd just be like, I know. Still 3 games to go after they played the 2 of them. Right, Guybrush Threepwood.
I love this. I love that name, Guybrush Threepwood. Love it.
Big Dan Burn up against Virgil van Dijk at the set pieces is going to be a sight. I completely agree. It's going to be a battle at both ends of the pitch. Sean says Klopp will blame the Premier League for knocking back the fixture delay if we win. Sean, guaranteed, mate, he's going to blame it if they draw as well. He'll have that excuse ready, Jurgen Klopp. He's talked about the lack of time between games. So he'll have that excuse ready. Eddie Howe's ready for it as well. I think Eddie Howe was saying in his press conference that he felt sorry for him, but we've had similar problems. We have 4 away games on the bounce, but you've just got to get on with it, haven't you? David Cook says, according to pundits, every team we have played have been poor or unlucky. No credit at all from the jealous ones. Couldn't agree more, David. Absolutely spot on. John Askew says the crowd could be influential on Saturday. Let's hope all the fans are in the correct areas. I agree with that, John. Guybrush is on form here, Pete. I've seen quite a few Everton fans on their subreddit praying we sack Howe for Poch so they can have him, and we're delusional. Well, that's interesting, because I as I said, Guybrush a while back, a lot of Everton fans I know don't rate Eddie Howe, and they think they were actually pitying me when we got Eddie Howe, and they were going, "Oh, bloody hell, richest club in the world, and you've got Eddie Howe." So my opinion of Eddie Howe was maybe a little bit clouded, and then thankfully I had Loaded Mag's finest Pete telling me how good Eddie Howe was, and Pete was right. So it all turned out well. Mad Magmar, my favourite pronunciation of guests. He says, lads, what approach to the Liverpool game do you think Eddie Howe will take on Saturday? Play a low block and counter-attack, or a more pressing toe-to-toe game plan that engages the SJP crowd? Pete, what are your thoughts?
I'm just going to... I'll go quickly because I need to go to the little boys' room very, very quickly.
Go on, mate, go on.
Back on the rest of the questions. But... I see Eddie Howe is going to play moments. So I think there's going to be moments in which he's going to play that low block. I say low block. It's not going to be a low block. It's not going to be 5 defenders behind the ball. He's going to play a lower line, and then he's going to push really high. And I think he's going to interchange in that within the 90 minutes to confuse Klopp. Because normally when you play a style, you play it for 90 minutes and you very rarely change your way. So you kind of set up to say, right, this is how I'm going to play. Actually, I think Eddie Howe is going to change it up slightly. So he might come out and he might press the hell out of Liverpool and try and nick an early goal. And then he might sit back for 20 minutes. And then he might go back into that press. And that's what I've seen from Newcastle in stages throughout even the games that we've won quite comfortably, is that he plays in moments So I think it might be a mixture of the two, but it won't be a low block in terms of sitting on the 18-yard box like we used to. I think we might be slightly deeper than what we would normally play, but I don't think it'd be a low block. I think it might be just to respect Liverpool just a little bit, but I think then he'll have moments where we push up high
and it'll be tactical. Yeah, it'll be tactical to lull them in so that they push forward really, really high. And then, like you say, Pete, there could be wing backs, the wingers. You could find Alan St-Maximin gets told to just sit on the byline or sit on the centre circle, just on the line, waiting for the counter to go. There'll be a plan. There'll absolutely be a plan. But yeah, I think it'll move as the game goes on.
Definitely. 2 minutes. I'll be back.
Go for it, mate. Go for it. So Sean says, what do we all make of the Jamie Carragher comments about Everton being a bigger club than Newcastle? So Sean, we spoke about this earlier on. Jamie Carragher's got to say Everton are a bigger club than Newcastle. Do I think he necessarily agrees with that? No, I don't think he does. Deep down, he'd never admit it, but I don't think he does. Not saying Everton aren't a big club, but I think to just dismiss Newcastle and say, oh, Everton naturally are a bigger club than Newcastle, I think is incorrect. So that, again, just my opinion. But yeah, I think don't be surprised that certain players or ex-players will protect their own clubs, because as we all know, Jamie Carragher is an Everton fan. He's from the area. He still lives in the area. So yeah, don't be fooled by that. Derek Sharp says, Everton fan on Twitter blaming the Premier League for allowing the takeover as the reason they are favourites to go down. Yeah, well, you know what? They're all going to do that, unfortunately. There'll be other clubs who say that they didn't finish in Europe because of the takeover. They didn't win league because of the takeover. We're going to have to get used to that now. Absolutely, it's going to be a common theme. But they've got to look after themselves. They've got to look after their 38 games in the season. Is it our fault that they're going down if they go down? No. Absolutely not. In fact, they should be thanking us. We give them 3 points at Goodison Park, which they didn't deserve. So they should be thanking us for giving them half a chance, in my opinion. Uggy says, interesting that Tarkowski's agent was at Newcastle ground this week. Yeah, very interesting. I didn't know that, Uggy. So yeah, that is an interesting one. But it doesn't surprise me because we've been linked with him. And if he's on a free, as we said earlier, he improves the squad. Not necessarily to be a starting 11. Right centre back, but if he improves the squad for the outgoing Clark or Lascelles or Fernandez or Dummett, bring him in. Saves us spend the money. I think it's not necessarily a bad move. Yano says, all this talk about Paqueta, what position does he play? How does he fit in with our 4-3-3 formation? I don't think he fits at the moment. I prefer a holding midfielder. Yano, it's a good point, mate. I mean, it's hard to talk about formations and speculate on positions of players because I think Eddie Howe's already alluded to the fact that we are going to play differently next season once he brings in more players that he wants to play a system. I think the system's going to be based more around St-Maximin, if I'm honest. I think it'll be more based around the focal point of the strikers. It really wouldn't surprise me if we played a 4-2-3-1. And for me, I see Paqueta as more of an attacking midfielder. And in this current formation that we play at the moment, the 4-3-3, I would see Paqueta, and I've said it previously, I see Paqueta as playing in the Willock role. So I could see Joe Linton, Paqueta, and Bruno just behind. That's how I'd see it, because I think Paqueta makes those bursting runs into the box, and he is box to box. So that's personally how I see it, mate. Could be wrong, but that's how I see it. Keith Hall says, Chris, are you starting to get worried about Everton? Honest answer, do you think they are going to stay up? I mean, to be fair, I know obviously I'm from Liverpool, Keith, and you know that, but and obviously I've got family and friends who are Everton fans. And to say I'm worried about them, I wouldn't say I'm worried, because really I don't care. They probably won't want me to hear me say that. I care about them, but I don't care about Everton, if that makes sense. So equally, I would be pleased if they stayed up for them. But I would also be pleased for myself and some of the knobhead fans that I do know, or that have been in touch with ourselves as Newcastle fans. I'd be pleased if they went down in that sense. But every club has good and bad fans, don't they? But really, ultimately, if I'm being really honest, it doesn't affect me whether they stay up or go down. But personally, I think there's still a chance they stay up. I know Pete thinks Everton are down, but it's all about opinions, isn't it? And I suppose it really depends on what happens over the next couple of games, and that'd be key. It's whether or not Everton can make a run, or whether Burnley can continue their great run that they're on. Derek Sharp says Burnley 37 points, Leeds 35 points, Everton 34 points. So this is interesting. I didn't realise it was that close, actually. I didn't. Oh, no, sorry. He must be saying what he thinks it will end on.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's
right,
it.
Okay. So he's saying Everton are going to finish on 34, which I should take them down with Watford and Norwich. Yeah. So Burnley pull away from Leeds. That's interesting. That's an interesting theory, that. Let me see. Pete, got some more. I've just been flying through comments more than questions, really, mate. John Askew says Everton might be shafted via FFP. With that in mind, would you consider going for Gordon? He's young, looks quality, and Everton might need the dosh. Pete, what are your thoughts on Gordon and us going for Gordon?
I think Anthony Gordon's a decent player. For me, and I said it in yesterday. One thing I like about Anthony Gordon is that he's a player that I think will play very well for Everton.
Yeah, for Everton. I agree.
Not necessarily any other club. And you get players that are like that because it's their hometown club and they're passionate about the club and they give everything for the club. Like he played really well because it was a derby yesterday and he was giving everything for the club. But I asked the question. He's been in that team now for a long time. He started in the game, at St. James's Park, and he was okay. He wasn't great. And he played games even before that. You're thinking, okay, well, why are you now turning up against Liverpool? But yet, when you play against Brighton at home, when you play away at Spurs, when you're playing at other teams, why are you not playing in the same way that you played Everton? I know he's a young player and he's going to be inconsistent, but I just think he's one of those players that will just play well when he's playing for Everton. If he came to a Newcastle, or he went to a Tottenham, or he went to a Palace, or he went to another team, a Villa, will you get the same performances from him? Will you get the same heart, desire, and passion? I think you probably get 10, 15, 20% less. And I think that's what makes him the player that he is because he's playing for his club and he cares about the club. People like Wayne Rooney were able to make that step up, but Wayne Rooney was an elite young player. So you knew he had the ability to really step up. It wasn't quite the same for others.
I agree, mate. I agree. I mean, look at the likes of our local lads, Shola Amiobi, Andy Carroll, Paul Dummett, Stephen Taylor. Those players, maybe not Andy Carroll, but those players, if they'd have got to move elsewhere, would they have given that little bit extra? Who knows? And we won't know because obviously we kept hold of them. And I know Stephen Taylor's career kind of went, he was at the latter stages of his career. But if he got a big move to another club, maybe we'd have seen that. But who knows? But I agree with what you're saying about Anthony Gordon there, Pete. So very quick one, Pete. Yes or no? Pete Barnett says, will Eddie Howe get manager of the month for April?
Good question. Will he? I think it depends on Saturday. I think if he gets a point on Saturday or he wins on Saturday, I think he gets it. I think if he loses, I don't think he does.
It's fair.
And
Klopp will get it. Yeah, probably. Yeah, because then that will mean that Liverpool. Am I right in thinking Liverpool have won every game in April?
I think so.
Is that right to say? Yeah, especially beating City as well. They beat City, didn't they, in the cup?
Yeah, but they drew at the Etihad though. Yeah. So that's the only one that didn't win. But other than that,
Yeah. Dave Carmichael, and this kind of carries on to another question that we were asked. It's been a while since there's been anything about the new training ground. Is there any news? And somebody else wrote earlier on in the chat that there was news about some land being purchased by Newcastle Airport. I don't know whether, I must admit, I've not been on Twitter very much of late. So I don't know if you've read anything, Pete. I certainly haven't. But have you seen anything about that land getting purchased by Newcastle Airport or any news on the training ground?
Not seen it, not regularly been on Twitter, tweeted after the game on Saturday, but not really regularly been on it. Didn't see anything about that, But yeah, look, the training ground will happen. The next thing I think we'll hear about the training ground is when the plans are in place for it to be done. I don't see it being a moving part that we're going to hear a play-by-play of how the training ground's coming up and where the location is or where the information. I think the next thing we hear about is when the club go to the council with the plans in what they want to do with the club in terms of the training ground. I think that's the first thing we hear about it, and then we hear then again when it's been finalised and building work starts. Look, that stuff will all be happening. That's all happening in the background. That won't be played out in the media. So we just need to trust the fact that the owners are doing what they need to be doing. But I think that'll be deep into next season before we get any confirmation on that. That's not going to be a decision that's going to be made very, very quickly. We need it quickly, but it's not going to be done quickly because we're not going to force that situation along because it's a big thing and the training ground's really important. It needs to be 100% done to the required standard.
I think you're absolutely right, and I think Dan Ashworth will have a big say in how that training ground looks. And until he signs on the dotted line, it wouldn't surprise me, by the way, if I've already said it before. I do believe that conversations have probably taken place. He may, I don't know, but he may be already working for the club. May have given his ideas to the club, in the background. But don't be surprised that as soon as Dan Ashworth's announced, shortly after, I think we hear about the training ground. That's how I see it. Because he's got to have a say in what that training ground looks like. Now, whether or not he's looked at it, I don't know. But he will have a say in what goes on with that training ground. Pete, this is my favourite comment of the night. And it's from NUFC Luke 98. And this paints the picture. This tells you how good our season has been in 2022. In the Premier League in 2022, we've got 32 points from 15 games. It's unbelievable the job Eddie Howe has done. That's averaging over 2 points a game.
Crazy.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
That's unreal.
You're absolutely right. It's crazy.
It's a great start. It's a great start.
It is absolutely spot on. And it just goes to show, like you just said, the job that Eddie Howe's done. He has performed miracles. He's like I said, he's produced. I keep saying he's produced Champions League form in a relegation battle. That's what he's done. That's what Eddie Howe's done in order to keep us in the league. He's produced Champions League form in a relegation battle in order to keep us in the league. It's unheard of. No other manager has produced that type of form to keep their team in the Premier League. In fact, tell a lie. There is one manager that has, and that was Nigel Pearson at Leicester. They then went on the next season to win the league.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that that's what we're going to do. I'd love that to happen, but yeah, there's only been 2 managers in recent years that have gone on and done that, and produced that type of form. And I don't even think Nigel Pearson did that over the same period that we have. So Eddie Howe's done even better. It's unreal.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. And do you know what? I was just trying to make it out there while you were talking. If you base that over a 38-game season, which I know is difficult to do, and this kind of shows you the job that Eddie Howe has done. If he'd have had that, if he'd have carried on this form that he's in right now over a 38-game season, that works out just over 78 points. Where would we be on 78 points?
Well, at least playing Champions League football. Yeah. At least.
I mean, I'm just looking now. We would currently, give or take, we would be behind Liverpool and Man City because, as we've already said, they're in a different league. Yeah. We would be behind, who still have 5 games to play, by the way, technically. But we would probably be ahead of Chelsea and Arsenal. We'd be in that top 4. That's where we'd be if he can continue that form. I'm not saying he could, but it just kind of shows you the gulf and the turnaround, really, more than anything. Right. Interesting one for Michael Gilchrist, and I think you've mentioned him before, Pete. Gabriel Jesus from City will be a cracking signing in the summer. Do you agree with that? I
think it'd be a very good signing. I think he'd be a good striker for our team, the way in which we play. There's question marks about his level of goals, but I would argue that with the fact that he doesn't start many games, and actually, I think his goal contribution is actually pretty good this season. I don't know the official stats.
He gets put on the right, Pete. Gets put on the right a lot.
In a lot of games, not even through the middle. But I think actually his goal contribution to season is pretty good. I think I saw a stat the other day, and I don't want to say it because it might be wrong, but I remember seeing it and thinking, wow, that's really high for the amount of games that he's played. And I just think he'd be a good foil. I know that Arsenal are really looking at him, and a number of this is where we have the issue, because I think Arsenal and Tottenham are looking for similar players that we may be looking at in the summer as well. So I think Arsenal have been heavily linked with Gabriel Jesus as well, and it would depend on what type of project Gabriel Jesus is looking at. But yeah, it'd be a good option. Is he the only option? No, there's plenty of others. So I wouldn't be too disheartened if he went to Arsenal or another club. But yeah, I think that's a good option. Yeah, it'd be a good option for Newcastle, that's for sure.
This is an interesting one from Gary Milligan, who says, "How many times will we break our record transfer fee?" Now, let's say, I mean, obviously that could go on forever, that question, Gary. But let's say, I think he's referring to the summer. So if we answer it based on the summer, do you think we won't break the transfer fee, which I believe now is currently standing at it should still be 40 million for Joe Linton?
I think we will break the transfer fee. I think we might even break it in the summer, but it depends on what period of time. Is he just referring to this summer?
I think we'd have to just say this summer, wouldn't we? Because otherwise, we'll keep doing it over the next 3 or 4 years, 5 years. We could break it 4 or 5 times, couldn't we? Really?
I think we'll break the transfer fee. I think we'll break it this summer. I think we'll break it this summer, but I think that we'll only break it once. I think that doesn't mean to say that we won't sign or spend money on players. I think we will. I think we'll get some on a free. I think we'll get some on a cheaper deal because they've only got a year left on their contract. Remember, there's a loan option there we've not even talked about. The loan options were big options for us under Mike Ashley, but actually there could be some really interesting loan options that we might take hold of top level players in Europe that maybe are not guaranteed football at their current clubs that we might take advantage of. So again, another situation for us to have a look at. But I think I think we'll break it. I think we'll break it once.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair, mate. I agree. I think we'll do it once. I don't think we'll do it twice. But am I concerned if we don't do it? No. I mean, if we went and bought 4 £25 million players, I'm more than happy with that. It's all about just weighing it up, and if we get a bargain out of it as well, it's like another Kieran Trippier 12 million type signing, I'll have that. You know what I mean? It's all relative. There's a question here from Lee G, but I've just realised he messaged me last night actually, and he asked me to ask a question tonight, so I'll throw this on here while I'm here. If Everton stays up this year, wouldn't they be in exactly the same position next season? For example, unable to spend and probably flirting with relegation.
I think it's a great point, Lee. They're in a position where they can't spend again. No. They're literally in a position where they cannot spend.
They're gonna have to cash in, aren't they?
Yeah. This is why there's been a lot of talk about Dominic Calvert-Lewin leaving. And I don't think it's not just because he wants to leave, because I think he does want to leave, but I think it's a case of they know he's probably the one player alongside Richarlison that's going to command a little bit of money. So I think they're going to have to sell him. I think out of the two, they're going to want to sell Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Why? Because he's got a British tax to his value, which will get more money for him. I think if it was that. Yeah, well, in my opinion and yours as well, I don't rate him. I know you don't rate him either.
I know loads of Blues who don't rate him. Loads.
Yeah, I've never rated Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So when I see him linked with Newcastle, I think, please, God, no, don't sign him for Newcastle United because I don't rate him. I don't.
Mate, you'd be paying easy 60, 70 million for him, and imagine what 60 to 70 million gets you in Europe. Imagine.
You put him alongside Darwin Núñez. You put him alongside Darwin Núñez or Victor Osimhen. It's a mismatch in terms of quality of what those three strikers give each other at different levels. So, Dominic Calvert-Lewin for me personally, I don't think Dominic Calvert-Lewin's better than Callum Wilson. I think Callum Wilson.
I don't think he is. I wouldn't swap him. I wouldn't swap him for him.
I wouldn't swap him either. I agree. I think Callum Wilson is better than Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but you would probably pay 2-3 times the amount, like you've just said, to get Dominic Calvert-Lewin. We paid 20 million for Callum Wilson. That's a snip. Getting him in 20 million. For me, I'd be paying 15 for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. But to sign him, like you just said in the summer, you're probably paying 40 to 60 million, which is an absolute joke. You could get Osimhen for a little bit more than that. You could get Darwin Núñez for a little bit more than that. You could get Duvan Zapata. Yes, he's 30 years old, but he's better than Dominic Calvert-Lewin. You could get
Alexander
him.
Isak.
You've got Jonathan David at Lille, who's a better striker than him, that you could probably get 25, 30 million. You've got Emmanuel Dennis at Watford, who I think is probably better than him, or maybe even the same level for considerably less than Dominic Calvert-Lewin that you'd have to sign him for. So you've got, I've just said 5 or 6 players there, 5 or 6 strikers.
That's just off the top of the head.
Yeah, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So,
how much did Juventus pay for Vlahovic? Wasn't it about 70?
Yeah, about 70 million.
One of the hottest prospects in world football.
Unreal, mate.
Crazy. Lee asks, next question: would you take Sancho and Rashford? Now I know we spoke about Rashford, so I know that you would take Rashford, and I'd take Rashford as well. Although the wages would concern me a little bit, if I'm honest. But in terms of Sancho, because we haven't really spoke about Sancho, and I don't know whether he's up for grabs. Maybe he is. But would you take Sancho?
There is no way that Jadon Sancho is up for grabs at Man United. There is just no way. They've invested.
Do you think Ten Hag will stick with Jadon Sancho, or do you think the club are going to say to him, "You need to keep Jadon Sancho"?
Ten Hag will make Jadon Sancho an absolute monster next year. There's no doubt about it. Jadon Sancho has been very, very unlucky this season. He's had some injuries, which is why he wasn't really as involved as he should have been in the Euros. He's been coming off the back of a number of injuries, actually, which is what hampered his start to Man United. But what I've seen in the last month or so from Jadon Sancho, when he's played for Man United, because some games he's not even got in the first 11. I've seen signs of Jadon Sancho coming back to his best of what I saw of him at Dortmund, and I think Ten Hag will get the best out of him. He is a supremely talented player, Jadon Sancho. He's not blessed with pace. He's not rapidly fast like Rashford, but what he is, he's an intelligent footballer. He's tricky. He's got fantastic intelligence on the ball. His trickery, his technique on the ball as well is very, very good. He likes to create good space. He's not a massive goal scorer, but he can score goals. But he's an assister. He'll set up goals. He just needs a striker that he can find. That's what he needs. Whenever he's been able to find Ronaldo scored goals, but they've not played together enough to be able to build up a partnership. But I think next season, I think there's a high chance that Ronaldo leaves because they don't get Champions League football, and I think the striker that comes in, I think they'll build up a good relationship. But for me, Jadon Sancho is an elite footballer who will be the best or one of the best in Europe. There's no doubt about it. I would love Jadon Sancho, but there's no way that Man United release him. No way, no how. You got more chance of Rashford going. And Rashford, for me, I'm really concerned about him for his future. He is not playing well at all. And I think he's going to stay at Man United because it's his hometown club, and I understand it. But I think staying at Man United is the worst possible thing he could be doing right now.
Fair play, mate. It's fair play. Lee G again with another belter question. This one is very easy for me to answer, so I'll let you go first, Pete. If you could choose who to beat out of City and Liverpool to give the other one the title, who would you choose?
There's no question. Beat Liverpool. Simple as.
My life would be unbearable, Lee, if Liverpool managed to win this quadruple. I may as well just like go into hiding or something, because living in Liverpool and Liverpool winning the quadruple under Klopp, it would you'd never hear the end of it. I still don't hear the end now of 2005 Istanbul. I still don't hear the end of that now. Fantastic achievement, don't get me wrong. And if it was us, I'd probably be carrying on the same way. But the quadruple, it literally makes me feel sick. They got one under the belt. They're in the semi-final of the Champions League. They're fighting it out for the league, and they're in the final of the FA Cup. Worrying is what it is, Pete.
I
tell you what, though.
Quadruple, please.
Yeah. I tell you what, though.
Quadruple, I want us to win it.
Yeah, exactly. And what a scalp. What a scalp if we manage to either team, if we get even a point off City or Liverpool, it signals the fact that we're a half decent team, because they don't drop points to average teams. Well, normally they don't. I'm not saying that it's never happened, but I think we're fully capable as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Lee Errington again asks, Carragher on MNF has suggested that the high back line of Liverpool is their Achilles heel. Virgil van Dijk is quality, but the whole back four of Liverpool look flat-footed at times and get caught out. I mean, Pete, expand on that further if you'd like, but for me, I think he's got a point. I mean, we all know that Liverpool like to use their fullbacks high up the pitch, and it always leaves them exposed. When Virgil van Dijk isn't in the team, they look weaker. There's no doubt about it. Whoever plays next to Virgil van Dijk, whether it's Matip, whether it's Konate, whether it's Gomez, they automatically become a better player next to Virgil van Dijk. And when he's missing, that is a problem. But I don't think Liverpool are particularly strong in defence. I think Alisson's a good keeper, but he is prone to the odd mistake. I think he keeps hold of the ball far too long. I don't think he's as good on the ball as Ederson is, which surprises me because Alisson is the number one Brazil keeper. And for me, I would prefer Ederson out the two, if I'm honest. But what are your thoughts on that, Pete?
I don't think that defensive lineup is as solid as it used to be. When they're in their sort of 2-year or season and a half kind of prime run, where they were just looking like they were getting clean sheets every week, and they just looked unbeatable. And I think that defense can be got out now, and the higher they play, the better for us. In my opinion, I think that we can expose them. I talked about Ansett Maximin on our left and their right with Trent Alexander. I think Chris Wood is not going to get in and behind, but I think he'll occupy Virgil van Dijk. I think Miggy Almiron, like you said, will commit them with Robinson. But it's that midfield. I think the midfield is going to be key. I think if Bruno Guimarães can really press the likes of Henderson, if he plays, certainly Fabinho, and win the ball high up the pitch and create moments. And I don't mean moments in which he sets up a goal or scores, but creates moments in which he wins the ball high up the pitch, releases it to the right players, or wins an important set piece high up the pitch that we can take advantage of. Because we'll have some set pieces up our sleeve for that game on Saturday. There's no doubt about it. If we can get in positions where we can do that, I think we can cause them problems. Not saying we're going to guarantee winning the game, but I think we could put them under some severe pressure with the fans behind us, with the players pushing.
We get the match.
I think with the game that we played against them with Rafa Benitez, where it was 3-2, but 2-2 for long periods, is that we gave them 2 opportunities to be ahead in the game. I think if we get the first goal, I think they will panic. And as long as the goal's not too early, if we get a goal around the 30th minute or just before half time, and we've got the second half to really kind of, we've got something to build on and something to hold in the game, I think we could put them under some real pressure and then later on hit them on the counter-attack. Like I said, I'm not saying we're going to win, but I think I'm just looking at maybe the way in which we can win the game under Eddie Howe. maybe what Eddie Howe's thinking right now. But yeah, I think it's going to be a really intriguing game. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, me too, mate. Me too. And I think it really does. I know some people disagree with me saying it was a bit of a litmus test, but for me, I really do think it is. It's not a case of, I just want to see how far we've come and have we learned from that Tottenham second half performance? Have we learned, or are we going to take another beating? And then if we do take another beating, it's like, okay, maybe we all need to calm down just a touch, because we've come up against two quality sides here and we've got seen off pretty easily. So if we go and get beat 4 or 5-0 by Liverpool, I'll kind of go, okay, maybe I need to calm down for next season, and maybe 9th would be great. Darren Drinkeld says, it's not better than a Monday night with you lads. Really appreciate that, Darren. Thank you, mate. I'm going to leave one more question, Pete, because I am conscious we're coming up to 4 hours, which I believe is a fans forum record. We're trying to beat your show the other night, Pete, on loads of that. And do you know what? This. Oh, hang on a minute. Hang on. Don't know which one to do. I'll do this one, and apologies if I don't read out all the questions. We've tried to get through as many as we can. As you can see, we've tried our very best, but I'm going to leave it on this one from Jan Levens. And Jan says, Gabriel Jesus, Lucas Paqueta, Alexander Mitrovic, Hugo Ekitike, and hang on, I'm trying to show off now. I'm trying to show off with the first name. Can't think of Koulibaly's first name, but yeah. Anyway, there's the players that he believes will get us top 6. First of all, do you think we'll go for those 6? And if not, who not? And second of all, if we were to get those 6, would we get top 6?
Oh, if we got Koulibaly, that would be unreal. He's not obviously played at the level that we've known for the last couple of years, but he's still a tremendous centre back that I think would thrive. I think he just played too long in Italy. I think if he'd have left it 2 or 3 years ago when he wanted to, I really do believe that he would have really kicked on as a player into his prime and played good football. But Napoli have kind of held him to ransom, really. And this is the key. This is why I don't think Koulibaly will come to Newcastle, because they've still got him under a contract. They will still demand 60, 70 million for him, which we're not going to pay. We're just not going to pay that for a 30-year-old.
And it goes back to the wages again, Pete. Goes back to the wages again. What wages is he going to be on? Yeah,
exactly. It'd have to be on crazy wages.
Silly.
And it's that type of player. It's like the here and now. In terms of elite player, do we really need to sign a player like that, or can we get a Sven Botman for half the price that could be there for the next 10 years? That's just an example. There are other centre-backs out there that we could go out and get as a young centre-back to improve Newcastle United. But yeah, that for me is the conversation. Ekitike, interesting. I don't know whether we'll go back in for him. That's just my personal opinion. I think we had a deal agreed, but he wasn't yet ready. It wasn't that he didn't want to come to Newcastle; he just wasn't ready to move.
Various media outlets are saying that the deal's done, and it's a case of us going back in the summer, and it'll get signed, it'll get done. As in Hugo Ekitike, you're quite right. Didn't say no to Newcastle, but he wasn't ready. But maybe it was a case of, thank you, come back in the summer and I'll join. Which is an interesting theory, because I believe since January, Hugo Ekitike hasn't been that great at Rennes or Rhyme.
No, he hasn't had the back second half of the season like he did the first. That's for sure. But Mitro, I'll just say really quickly, Mitro, no, not for me. He is not what Newcastle United need at all. And the fact that it's took him 7-8 years to get him to the point in which he scored all of these goals, but still in the Championship, not convinced. Paqueta, 100%. Jesus, I would take Jesus, that's for sure.
I'll just quickly run through these, Pete, because I know we're going to finish now. But yeah, Gabriel Jesus, I think if he played regularly up front, like you said earlier, I think he would be a decent signing. Lucas Paqueta, 1,000,000%. Mitrovic. One thing I will say about Mitrovic though is that I believe he scored 40 goals already this season. So, people in the past, when they were talking about the fantastic season Adam Armstrong they're having, fantastic season Ivan Toney was having, and, albeit Ivan Toney has played reasonably well in the Premier League this season. Let's not forget, Alexander Mitrovic scoring 40 goals. It could be that other clubs look at him in the summer, because 40 goals in the Championship, that's no mean feat. That's pretty decent. Whether I think we should sign him or not, no, I think that ship sailed. Hugo Ekitike, I would love to bring him in. The only slight issue, I suppose, is the price. But by the sounds of it, Steve Nixon's really keen on him. The ownership's really keen on him. So if we want him, we get him. I do believe that'll happen. And Koulibaly, no, not for me. Pete, you hit the nail on the head. I think his time's gone. What is he now? 30, 31? You don't want to be spending 60, 70 million on a 30, 31-year-old. And who's going to command at least 150, 200 grand a week. Totally break your wage structure. Totally upset the whole balance of the squad. No, not for me.
I agree. Definitely.
Lovely.
Great questions, great points.
Yeah, superb.
Love the chatters in the chat tonight. Fantastic stuff, and the guests have been spot on as well. Jimmy was spot on. Darren, Tony, Alan, brilliant stuff. And there's a few more that I think are ready to come on next week and talk Newcastle with us. So we should maybe have one or two new guests that we haven't seen for a while. But absolute quality from everybody, and great to see well over 100 stick with us for the near 4 hours.
The
really
marathon.
Appreciate it. We never ever expect to go this long, but the questions that come out and the way the show goes, it's fantastic. But
yeah,
look,
superb.
We'll end it there. Massive thanks to everyone tonight. Fantastic support as always. And look, there is more to come from us. We will be back again in the weeks to come, and we'll really look forward to sharing more Newcastle United content with you. And fingers crossed, next Monday we're talking about another win against Liverpool, and we'll put a dent in their title race, or even a point, and we continue on this unbeaten run and take it to 5. But we'll see. But until then, you guys take care. Have a fantastic evening and week, and fingers crossed for 3 points against Liverpool on Saturday noon. You take care. Speak to you soon.
Take care, everyone.